it hurts and it's weird, and they
Greetings, gamers, and welcome to the 224th live stream from the Misfit Gamer Studios. I am your host, Vortex, and this is D&D Discussions. On today's episode, we have two brand new feats coming from CosmycPruge today. Excuse me. We have the false start and language barrier. Not exactly sure how I feel about either of these. Language barrier sounds very interesting, although being that it's a feat, I'm not sure exactly what to expect from it, and false start doesn't give me much to work with, so we're going to kind of find out exactly what he has in store. But we are going to take a little bit of a break and delay that because Kage is on his way. So we will be taking a few minutes before we get to those. So for the time being, we are just going to hang out and chill. I also didn't change my shirt before stream, so I'm going to go do that when Kage gets here as well. But yeah, we are just going to hang out for a little bit. Let him, because he's actually going to be in studio today. So that'll be nice. Good to see him live. Get a hydrate. Thank you so much for the hydrate. We'll hydrate now. Hydration is good. I need to check on the community stream.
Watch for the hype train.
I hate that they autoplay things everywhere. Let's see if I need to change it. Better. Now I'm much more lit up. That's much better. I need to take a look at where our community stream is. Oh, April was completed, and that means that we're going to start May on Friday. Okay, so we are good. We are good for that. We will start May's on Friday. April is officially complete. So we will get you a date here coming soon, and then I don't know if we'll do another gaming with chat or if we'll do something different, but we will figure it out. What up? All right, so yeah, so on Friday we will get the May community stream voting or the community challenge going and everything else like that. But otherwise, I think we're good. I don't know what we'll do for next month. But otherwise, everything's good to go there. Everything's turned back on as well. So all of the viewer rewards are back on. I turned all of them off for recording purposes. So those are back on now too. So all of that is good to go. All right. Well, bam, we got you back.
Shalom, my
Welcome.
friends.
It's been a while. It's been a while since we've had you live.
Far too long since I've been back in the studio, at least.
It's been at least a month.
Yeah. Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. But I'm here. I'm functional. All is well.
Yeah. I gotta go change my shirt real quick for stream because
Yeah.
I don't have one of my cool shirts
You
on.
rock the nerd life. Absolutely.
And then yeah, we'll start here. We got 2 feats to go.
Yes, indeed. I'm very excited to see what Cosmic has brought to us. These were a couple of the ones that that he was talking about the other day. I'm very curious to see how he actually put these together. I was actually able to do a good amount of these without a whole lot of adjustments on the actual creation. So I'm actually excited. So I know the absolute least about Cosmic's reviews from these ones. So I'm kind of excited to see how this goes down. But tightening this the right way? I swear I am.
Yeah, you should be.
Yeah. Yes, right. Perfection.
Yeah. So all right. So yeah, so let's find out exactly what we got going on. Actually, how nice is it outside? No, it's still pretty hot outside. I'm just gonna have to wait like a couple more hours.
Where you bring the let the air come through.
Yeah, it's getting hotter each night, so it's like I don't know what time. Like,
yeah,
we used to be able to turn it on at like 5, and now we have to wait till, I guess tonight we're gonna have to wait till like 9.
yeah. It's because it stays so light for so long now,
It's also
and
really humid.
Yeah, like California's not supposed to be like that. This is it's not how we operate.
Yeah, well, it's how we operate now. Welcome to climate change.
Disrespectful. So I did finally figure out the issues I was having with logging in.
My camera having such a hard time. There we go. It's still kind of like not right, but
You are
there, that's better. Camera's better. All right, so yeah. Other than starting the community challenge for April or for May, that'll be starting on Friday. We will have to get together for next month's community stream.
Okay.
And come up with a few ideas of what we want to do.
Yeah.
Because
I did like what we ended up doing. I don't know if you ended up doing any more of those gaming with chat type things.
I haven't done another one yet, but
I think that worked well.
I liked that. I really do want to think about what other games to do. Sure. I have been considering we talked about a list of games before. I really like the idea of GTA Online. That would be kind of cool, at least before GTA 6 comes out. And then we'll see how, if that has its different online or if it's just going to expand. I just got Arc Raiders, so I've been doing a lot of that. I don't know how you can, I don't know if you can group up in that one though. I think you can. I think you can do duos at least. But I just got it yesterday, so I've only been messing around.
GTA Online?
No, Arc Raiders.
Oh, Arc Raiders.
Yeah, I think you can group up. I think there's like.
I'll have to look at that. Is that cross-platform too?
I think so.
Oh, I might. It was on sale,
so I just grabbed that.
Okay. Arc Raiders.
Been playing Sniper Elite a lot.
Play what?
Sniper Elite.
Oh yeah. I remember you telling me that
one too. So, yeah. I'll see. But we'll I'd like to do more gaming with chat, but it would be nice to have more people interact with it. Like if we can get more games that more people can play, so more people can show up.
Sure.
It would be nice to actually have a good rotation, so we have more more opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially finding stuff that people want to mess with, but also stuff that we want to mess with as well. So we'll actually have a good time doing it.
So we'll have to talk about like a list of games other than the ones that we have that you might be interested in getting over time, if we really want to expand to the rest of everybody. But yeah, I think I will try to see if we can build out that list that you have for all of the usernames and then build out for the rest of the games, because I really do like having some sort of list like that that'd be easy and quick to reference.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we'll work on that.
I saw Hecate join the list, which was nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I have not checked.
And Soul on there.
Okay, good. I haven't checked the whitelist here in a minute, so I'm glad that we have at least those two.
Yep.
But hopefully we'll get more soon. Hopefully more people want to join in on some games. I'm just trying to really think of like even games I'd be willing to invest into if I don't already own them. Depending on if I know that if they're really good for multiplayer and grouping up with people. So yeah, I'll have to do some research and see, or I'll just put something out there to ask on the Discord what games people have and what games people would want to play.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. The top games that people mess with. Although what I feel like people are going to talk about, what's that one? Roblox and well, that one, the other one's kind of good. Minecraft. I feel like those are the ones that I hear about the most. Although I don't know how much in adult circles, because I mostly.
I mean, I used to play Minecraft a lot, but I don't anymore.
Sure.
And it is a very...
Me either, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a very weird scene now, and it's just...
Is it a whole scene?
Minecraft's a whole thing. Like there's multi-layers to Minecraft.
Although I did see these server videos, and like there's these weird Minecraft entire community. I'm not not familiar.
The modding scene, there's the online scene, there's the RPs. Like it's a whole no. I had fun. Skyblock was peak, and that was it. I made it to Skyblock. I loved that, and then nothing ever since has ever got my interest.
That's funny.
I just want to stay away from it now.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right. Language barrier is older. All right, we'll do that one first. All right. Makes sense. Do the older one, then do the newer one, so we can see the progress.
Fair enough.
All right,
for it.
all right, all right. Well, we can give this one a start. Cosmic's here, and I got no more updates. And you're here, all settled in. So,
Good to go.
yeah. So let's get this started. Boom. All right. So we'll start with the older of the two creations. This one will be Language Barrier, submitted by CosmycPruge, and we will start with a description, which actually begins with the prerequisite, which I don't mind. I think more things in 5th edition should be limited to things that you can achieve beforehand. So prerequisites, right? Like sometimes I'm not because I say the reason why I say it that way is not things like going old school where it's race or class based, but being able to put it under things that you know that you could have control over with ASIs.
Sure.
With my character creation, with other aspects that I get. These are things that I could work to achieve without having to be locked into something so profound as a race or a class.
That is interesting.
So I do appreciate bringing back some prerequisites.
Yeah.
Because I don't see enough of them. I really don't.
This is very true. And like specifically in the feat scene, right? Because I feel like that's where you see it the most. Like
I think you primarily see it in spellcasting. Technically, spell lists are the same concept of prerequisites. You have to be a certain class in order to achieve it.
You have to, with certain exceptions, you can get them from feats or other things like that. But yeah. No, I'm here for that.
So this one requires both an intelligence and a wisdom of 13 or higher.
Oh, both.
I
Very
do like
interesting.
that. I do like having a combo as well. So
because usually you don't see those two together. Like usually you see one or the other. Yeah.
So keeping them that high too means that this is going to be. I'm expecting this to be a pretty valuable feat.
Sure.
Because that's asking a lot. Because again, it's rare that you would have a build unless you're already multi-classing. It's rare to have a build that you want both of those, unless you have just a great stat block.
Yeah, unless your DM's just like...
Because I'm thinking like, if you have 2 13s minimum before adjustment, that means you probably had a 10. And if you didn't dump wisdom or intelligence, what did you dump? Constitution maybe? Or charisma?
I know a lot of people dump strength depending on if they're going to be like a caster or something like that.
There is that too. So there's situations I could see it, but yeah, this would be, I'm hoping for a little bit because it would be kind of rare to have these two aligned like that.
Do you think this is going to be like spellcaster focused or like melee focused or is it going to be like utility more?
See, I don't know how 5th edition treats feats because for me, feats are always physical or of the physical world, whereas it seems 5th edition, there are feats that allow for, magic usage. Like, so not things that affect magic, but I don't necessarily believe that feats should create magic. They can affect magic, right? They need to come from the person or of the physical world. Doesn't necessarily mean
I think I see what you're saying.
Enact something physical, but a feat that gives you a magical power is just a cantrip, in my opinion.
Sure.
Cantrips and feats are the same thing, just the division is one's of the physical world, one's of the magical world.
Interesting. So you think like, because there's something called like a magic initiate where you basically can choose a spellcasting class like druid, cleric, whatever, and you can get a first level spell and like 2 cantrips from that spell list to add to your own. Basically, you just so if I'm a wizard, I can get a couple cleric cantrips and a cleric first level spell if I want to. I can get cure wounds where I normally wouldn't be able to have that as a wizard or whatever. So like for you, that would be more a different category than a feat because you're basically gaining magic.
Yeah. And I get that to me is like saying that you have a feat that can do that is kind of weird because to me a feat is basically a thing that you can learn to do, not is bestowed upon, right? And that's the thing is like, so a feat is a technique. I'm kind of behind that. This is why I mean like it is in the physical world. Like you have like feats that can affect magic, like the double or nothing feat. That affects your ability to cast magic, but that is something that you have to learn. It is something that in the world doesn't just get bestowed upon you. It's not just something that happens to people. Feats are techniques and things that you become capable of doing. And those things developing magic, I don't think are synonymous, right? Like developing magic skill is in of itself a aspect of becoming a spellcaster. It is not just something someone just picks, I don't know.
Right.
It's I find that the division is, if a feat gives you magical powers, I don't like the fact that it's a feat. I wouldn't call it a feat. I'd call it more like a spell or a cantrip. Because if it does something magical, it's not really something you learn how to do. It's something that you learn how to manifest.
For sure.
And I don't have the right words for it, but the division there is
interesting point, because I think you call them wizards or mages or whatever in your system. The more what's his name from the books.
Oh, Dresden. Yeah,
Dresden.
The wizard.
The
wizard class.
The wizard class that is more like you're kind of physically learning how to, because like that's a lot different than like being a mage where you're learning how to like
exactly.
It's very much a physical thing that you're doing.
You're physically interacting with the magic more than you are.
So would you consider them being able to do stuff with feats? Would that be a feat because it's more physical for them, or would that be again something that's being bestowed upon you, like you're talking about?
So again, it's more about the outcome and what you're doing with it, right? Like if the end result of a feat is of itself magic that you don't have, that's basically just a cantrip, in my opinion, right? If it does something to enhance what you can do, or gives you an ability that you yourself can produce, right? It's not magic that you're conjuring. Again,
it's just you getting better at being you.
Yes, or it's something that you can yourself manifest itself without having to conjure it out of existence. That's where I wanted to say that I would draw the line of what a feat actually is, right?
Okay.
I wish I had more specifics. I don't know if there are any feats that essentially grant magical ability. I don't know off the top of my head any that I take this feat and therefore, unbeknownst to what else I now have a new magical ability.
So there's one called telekinetic, where you basically get an invisible mage hand, and
to me, that's not a feat. That's just just saying now I have the spell mage hand.
And there are some other things, but they're very much magical-esque things that you can now do.
Like if a feat gave you prestidigitation, that's not a feat. You're just getting the fucking cantrip. That's not a feat. That's a fucking spell. That's where I would draw the line. Is you don't get spells from feats. That's to me not what I would accept.
Interesting. I like it.
But the feat you get could affect the way you do magic.
Sure, absolutely.
That's different. But you still do the magic. The feat what you're doing is doing something different. So the kitten. Oh wait, we got Hecate with a third. Hold on, let me get these points in here.
Come on back.
Oh, oops. Well, Hecate, you got an extra 5 today.
Oh,
my bad. All right, so prerequisites, not bad. I'm hoping for a little bit. And then so when it comes to feats, to answer your question, I'm not expecting anything magical.
Okay.
So that's where I'm not exactly sure where to take these, especially with the names.
Sure. Okay, very nice.
All right, so the description is that you have studied the nuances of language to such an extent that you can instinctively defend against spells and magical effects spoken in tongues you understand. Interesting. I would have expected that to say tongues you don't understand, because in my opinion, I like the idea that if a mage is see, this is where I kind of miss this old school idea that counterspell shouldn't be automatic. Like, the idea of doing counterspell, I feel like there's a missed mechanic where counterspell should require your ability to know what's being cast. In the sense of, let's say you have the Caloran Bow spell, and I'm going to cast a spell on you. I think you should have to roll.
I should have to know how to counter that spell.
You should have to roll and say, hey, I want to do counterspell. Roll, and the roll is to see if you know the spell. And then there should be a calculation of whether or not you're powerful enough to counter it, right? Because I do like that. I do like that kind of mechanic. But I still feel like if a spell is going to be cast, I don't feel like anybody of any level should just instantly be able to be like, because that's basically all you're saying is anti-magic. All you're doing is going anti-magic. And to me, if you're not specialized in anti-magic, if you're not like a subclass of anti-magic, which by the way would be a dope ass subclass for a wizard, is anti-magic wizard. But I
That's
digress.
actually really interesting.
Like all it is
actually
either
really
turning spells
interesting.
against you or disintegrate. Like, but point being is I've never liked the way counterspell works because it's just flat.
Sure.
I prefer older counterspell where it required like a level combative, but I still feel like there's a missing component where you should know what you're counterspelling. So when this immediately said like defend against spells of magical effects spoken in tongues you understand, it's like, but that's already kind of a granted. Like if I have the ability to counterspell and I know and I can hear it, I know that it's a spell. This should be like, it doesn't matter. You know magic when you hear it.
Sure.
Like that's almost what I would have expected. Not saying that it's wrong. It's just that my first instinct as I was reading that sentence was like, man, this should just mean that I always know a spell's coming regardless. Doesn't matter the language, doesn't matter the tone. I know a spell's coming when I hear it.
Also, I will say, and this kind of goes to a point that you usually make when it comes to naming conventions. When I think of language barrier, I think of, difficulty understanding languages, right? You know what I mean? Or like a disconnect in the...
And that's why I'm thinking like it's language I don't understand, because in my opinion, if a creature I don't understand starts to cast a spell, I wouldn't know it's a spell until it's too late. Therefore, I couldn't counterspell it. But with this feat, I'd know a spell even if I can't understand the language. I'm like, oh, no.
Sure.
I know that that's magic. You know what I mean?
Now,
but again, I don't know how 5th edition treats it. That's why I paused, because I would make this suggestion, but I'm only going off of how I think of magic. But if that's not how 5th edition treats it, if 5th edition doesn't treat like countering spells, then I'm not really sure specifically what this is.
To be honest, I don't really think 5th edition knows how it wants to treat it, because initially when they're talking about counter spells, as long as the spell level that I'm casting it is higher, then it automatically counters it, right? So if you're casting a 5th level spell and I cast my counter spell at 5th level, your spell's gone, no roll required. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
If it's higher, then I just have to make sure I have enough power. So
gotcha.
I kind of like that idea, but I love what you're talking about when it comes to like understanding it first. I would love it if there was like a roll, and if I passed a certain threshold, I know what type of spell it is, and if I passed another threshold, I know what type of spell and what power level it is, so I can, if I know what type of spell it is and what power level it is, then I can instantly counter it. Like that's great, but I have to succeed that roll in order to get there. But
I like something like that,
that would be like a level that I'd be more comfortable with.
And this is also saying you instinctively defend against spells. So this is also giving you kind of a built-in either counter spell or a built-in dodge. So we still don't know exactly what it does. But it's interesting.
I'm curious how close to magic resistance this will be, because...
Yeah, and that's why I'm curious, because like you said, language barrier. I see that we're overcoming a language barrier.
Now, it could be a play on words, and like you're using language as a barrier for like magic and stuff like that. Like that's possible.
I like that. Okay, I like that approach more. I like that approach that it's a barrier of language. But
sure.
Let's see the effect, because I just, as in the description, I'm a little bit confused, but I'm also thinking it doesn't sound like it should. So,
Sure.
So moving on to the actual effect here. So this is a passive ability, does not require any action. So this is just something that you can
just
do.
Always active.
Armor class. You gain a bonus to your armor class and saving throws against spells and magical effects that include verbal components spoken in a language that you know. This bonus is equal to the number of languages you are proficient in, to a maximum of +4. So you get an up to +4 bonus. So a bonus to your armor class equal to how many languages you know.
Okay.
Which is probably why you need such a high intelligence and wisdom to be able to at least know so many languages.
Sure.
But that bonus to armor class and that same bonus up to 4 to your saving throws against spells and magical effects that include verbal components. I'm not sure what magical effects that include verbal components mean outside of spells.
So yeah, it's like if somebody's casting a spell on you and that spell does not require verbal components.
No, I get that part. I just don't understand why it says spell and magical effects. Like I'm not sure what the the deviation between what's a magical aspect that requires verbal versus what's a spell that requires verbal.
something like what do you call it? The siren song would be a magical effect that causes.
That's not technically a spell.
Yes.
Yes. Perfect. That's all I needed. I wasn't sure what
category they were. Yeah. Okay. I got you.
So as long as that's a verbal component and it falls under one of those two categories, you automatically have a bonus to your saving throw or a bonus to your armor class based on what its effect is going to be to you.
Sure.
And
Whether
that is equal to the number of languages that you know.
And I kind of like that because so often it's usually either one or the other. And like, because if I have like a high armor class, you're going to do something with a saving throw. If I have a high saving throw, you're going to do something that requires my armor class. But this improving both of those things, I feel like actually makes me feel like, yes, I'm good at defending against just magic, not just one aspect of magic.
What are like I like the idea. I'm trying to understand like how does it make not necessarily like well, both how does it make sense and how does it balance out, because it says to a max +4, but I'm trying to think of like how what is the average number of languages? 2 or 3?
So I will say that at character creation, a lot of the times you can get a language from your background. A lot of the times you get a common plus an additional language from your class.
And then sometimes your race will get
yeah, from your race I meant. And then sometimes your class will
okay,
give
so
you
the average is probably about 2.
Yes.
More and then there's occasional 3, very rarely there's a 4.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, so that seems about good then, because you're probably going to get on average about a +2, sometimes a +3, which doesn't feel too bad. Like
Sure.
you don't want this thing to like, you know, blow you out of the water from day one,
Mm-hmm.
but you're never going to not want that +2, +3 to your AC for spells.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean,
And I will say the fact, like, I might even be okay with a +5 here because it's situational. Number one, it's not every spell. It's only on languages that you can understand. And number two, people can still physically attack you and it has no effect on your AC or saving throws.
okay.
So like, it's not like you're just all of a sudden invincible. You're just a lot better when it comes to magic. So I'm not totally mad at that. Although,
So you know what would be kind of cool is
I might put a...
what would be more interesting is maybe putting in a modifier on whether or not, like, it defaults to you need to know the language, right?
Sure.
But because you only know so many. Bonus to your armor class when it's a language that you know. Interesting. Okay. I don't think it's too. I don't think it's too minimal. I do think that this will last through most levels, and I think it's a good starting point. Most aren't gonna, because you're not gonna get your first feat until level 4.
Mm-hmm.
So right out the gate, you're not gonna be overpowered with this at level 4.
Sure.
But it is gonna be something that from there on, having that as a passive ability is gonna be great. I would like to see this be affected by by being deafened.
Oh, interesting.
If you can't hear, you shouldn't be able to use it.
I mean, they did articulate.
I mean, does that, because it just says you have studied, because it says affects spoken in languages, not the ones that you can hear.
Does it not say anything about that in the...
It just says a component spoken in a language you know.
Okay.
This bonus applies only when you... Okay, we didn't read the rest of it. So
Fair enough.
The bonus applies only when you can clearly hear and recognize the language being spoken. So that means that if it's too far away...
Yeah,
even
you
though
still
know
have to be
what's
able to clearly
happening.
hear
Okay,
it.
so it has to be fully audible. If you are deafened within an area of silence, or the effect has no verbal component, you don't get a benefit. You do not gain this bonus from magical or passive means of understanding languages. Okay, I do like that. You can't force it by way of
Oh, like casting to spell comprehend languages or something like that.
or tongues or monk's tongue from Sun and Moon. So
Really?
I do like that. Nothing that isn't your default languages. No alternatives.
Sun and Moon doesn't count?
I like that. I actually like that because that's another feature. So you're using a feature to stack a feature, and I like that. I like the idea.
But if okay, the question would be: does when you get Song of Tongue and Moon, is that now I now always like that's now a part of me, or is that like this element of my monkness now gives me a supernatural ability? That's how I would.
But just because it gives you the ability to speak any language doesn't mean it's one that you actually know, right? It's not like part of the languages you know. It's more like a translator. So anything that as a translator doesn't count. It has to be a language you fundamentally know. And I like that. I personally think
I
great.
do like that, but that's kind of why I want to see
What's going on, serotonin?
How
today's session, we got
you
brightness
learn
effect
to touch. Oh, that's why.
If those
Okay.
command words are in a language the target understands, they can apply language barrier bonus. Wait a second. So
You learn to touch the key of other.
we got a gem of
minds.
brightness, which
You can
has
understand all
effects
sorts of
based on
languages.
spoken command
Mm,
words.
for
If those command words are in a language, they can apply language barriers bonus to it.
Got you. Yeah.
Whereas if the language they don't know, they can give a bonus. See, that's interesting. I don't know if I like that though. The idea that if I have a magical item that has a command word, I don't think that should count for this.
Wait. What are we saying?
If I understand Cosmic correctly, they're saying that they had a gem with a command word spell. So you speak a command word and the gem would activate and then the spell would go off.
Okay.
They're saying that this would apply to that spell. And I don't think so, especially if we're taking out Monk's Tongue, Comprehend Languages, and Tongue spell.
Yeah.
I think you can't do third-party spells at all if you can't do translate.
Basically,
spells.
what that sounds like is the command word is activating the magical device, and then the magical device is doing a thing, right? Like in Magic the Gathering, it's like it's being put on the stack, right? And so the word part of it has nothing to do with the magical effect that you're receiving. The word part of it only has to do with the activation of the crystal. So the only thing I could say is if there was some way that when they speak that word, you can stop it from activating the crystal. Like, but even then, like, it would be how would you go about?
And I know, and again, I think to me, there's always a separation between active magic and passive magic and activated magic, right? So it's like the idea, like, the difference between holding a bow and holding a crossbow. You can't hold a bow at knock, but you can hold a crossbow at knock because it's automatically held for you, right?
Sure.
I can pull the trigger and the crossbow will go, but with the bowman has to sit there and hold it, right? So if I mess with the bowman, they're gonna, undo the arrow, right? But if I mess with the crossbowman, they're just gonna point the crossbow and the arrow is gonna be fine.
Sure.
Same thing here is the crossbow is the magical item. Doesn't matter what I do to the bowman, because the crossbow's
still gonna be ready.
Until I pull the trigger, the crossbow's just fine. But if I fuck with an arrowman, the bowman himself with the bow drawn, they're gonna eventually weaken and not be able to cast the spell. If that's a better, if that's
I get what you're saying. I get where you're going with that.
So that's where I don't know if I agree with you, Cosmic. I don't know if I would allow this to activate and proc off of a magical item.
I would be interested in the articulation of how/why that functions that way.
Do you want to read it real quick in chat and see if you get the same thing that I did? Because Cosmic hasn't corrected me just yet, but I want to see if you get the same that I read from that.
Is it the one where it says in today's session?
Yes.
Okay. In today's session, we got a gem of brightness, which has the effect based on a spoken word command. If those command words are in a language the target understands, they can apply language barrier bonus to it if they even have. Okay. So that does sound exactly like what he's saying. So it's like if, say, imagine I have a wand of fireball and it has a command word that I have to activate, and I speak the word fireball and it casts a fireball, right? Then I would get this +4 bonus to my saving throw to the fireball. Against that fireball.
But to me, that's not a spell with a verbal component. I think that's a little bit of a stretch. If the feat is designed that way, if that is the intent of the feat, two things. A, I think it's OP, and I would guard against that.
Sure.
And B, it needs different wording. Because right now it speaks to spells. It does say magical effects, but I still don't know if I would constitute a magical item as a magical effect.
Because when I think about magical effects that have a verbal component, I'm again specifically thinking about something like the Siren Song. Like you're using your vocals to create the magical effect, and so therefore that is why this functions against that, because I understand the mechanism in which you are deploying this magical effect.
Yeah.
But your word activating this thing isn't the mechanism in which you're deploying it. It's the mechanism in which you are flipping the light switch. The light switch is doing all the work, right? Unless you can stop me from touching the light switch, the thing's still going to turn on just fine. Like I have no added ability to protect myself from the light if I stop somebody from turning on a light switch. You know what I'm saying?
So that's where I would draw my line is yeah, it's yeah, and then it does also end with bonuses applies to languages that you've learned from background, race, class, or feats. So I do like it as is. I just think my line would be against magical items.
Sure.
That's so far where I think I would draw it back to.
So I get what you're saying, Cosmic. Even if it doesn't do damage, my mindset is more of just like the principle on how the effects are being triggered and how they're being, like, again, I don't think it's that big of a deal with this particular item. Yeah, so I get the bonus on against being blinded. No big deal. Doesn't necessarily make it OP. But it does set a principle.
But yeah, the wand of fireball, anything at that point that has a command trigger now becomes susceptible, and I don't think those are the same thing.
Sure.
Right? Because a command word, just because you understand what the word is, you don't necessarily know that word is a command word. You know what I mean? It's not part of magic. It has no magical essence to it. It is something that is passively waiting for that, right? It's not something that you're actively doing. So I personally think that's a stretch for myself. But again, if that's the way that the feat was designed, that's the way the feat was designed. I would suggest putting a little bit more language, or even just an example, of saying that this also includes.
Yeah, we still haven't finished reading it theoretically, so there might be a little bit more in there. But again, I would say if that's what it's meant to be able to do, I would put something specifically in there that says that too.
So it does have additional notes. If you read a magical script, glyph, or rune written in a language you are proficient in, and doing so triggers a magical effect, you may apply. Yeah, see that? Okay, so that's where I would just remove that part. I think this at that stage, now we get into something that's just too powerful.
Okay, well,
especially starting if I could take this at 4th level, it's just at this point. Again, I think there needs to be a division of how magic operates. And this is where I would draw it. I don't think that this is sufficient enough to build a magical.
So if there was like a glyph of warding or something that activated upon someone, like, yeah, because that's technically the same thing as the trigger word for a magic item. Because the way this is worded, I'm more okay with this than an item, but at the same time, I think you're right. It does have the exact same like conceptual effect.
Yes, you're basically saying that something that's triggered, somehow you get in the way of that. Whereas during a spell or the siren song, you know that it's coming. It's a build up. It is something that, because again, I always imagine like when spells are being cast, especially when you think about it in how it's always like written in literature, there's like a pressure, there's a build up. You can feel the magical essence happening, right? That's where I feel like this is coming from. But an instant trigger, I just don't think that word and the activation of the spell are essentially linked the same way as verbal components to a spell, right? Like, I don't think those are fundamentally the same.
So this brings up kind of a weird hypothesis in my head, which is, do you think there's any way to traditionally cast a spell without a spellcaster present? Meaning to provide the material components, to provide the verbal components, and potentially somatic components externally. So like say I had something that animated somatic components, and say I just had the material components nearby, and say I had magic mouth to speak the verbal components.
So no, and that there are boundaries against that. The best you can do is have the spell trigger on a delay based off of a condition.
Trigger condition.
That's the only thing. But there are conditions. That's exactly why because otherwise, because if you want to do like the, how do you break it, right? The spell of scrying breaks every magical item. Anything that has a verbal component, I can scry to it and activate it. You have a ward of explosion, I can watch you. The moment you create that ward of explosion, I explode it.
Well, can you speak through scrying?
Sometimes you can, but what if I have projected voice? There are certain spells where I can speak at anywhere I can see. So there are ways around it, and if you could remotely cast magic like that, what's to stop me from remotely casting where I can see, where I can speak, If I could project my voice, if I could project my consciousness, clairvoyance puts me wherever I want to be.
Well, could you theoretically do that with a magical item that just has a command word to activate?
That's what I say. They don't. That's where the major component of magic is the complete circuit. The caster.
So
is
you're
part of
saying
the
you wouldn't be
circuit.
able to even do that with a magical item? So you couldn't have like a wand of fireball like logged in a wall and have like a magic mouth activated randomly?
That kind of trap doesn't exist.
Interesting. So the best you could do is like basically storing a spell in a ward with a trigger effect.
Yep. Now this is also where spell engineering comes in, because this is where the more you get into spell engineering, this is where you could make a device that, based off of certain number of triggers, magical effects happen in a series and therefore trigger
Sure,
a spell effect.
something bigger.
But that's more like getting a computer to work or a light to work, right? It's understanding how magic flows. But correct, you can't just have a magic effect go off because you have the spell magic mouth go off. And the reason is because, again, if I can project myself, then anything is at my disposal. And that would fundamentally break the circuitry of magic, which is, again, to me, how I explain it. There's a circuitry of magic. The caster is the circuitry, right? Because magic also needs intent. Which is why, if you want to get into it, that's why wizards are powerful, but they're also not powerful in terms of wizardry, because mages memorize it. So they have the perfect intent, right? Everything is perfectly locked into exactly what they want, which is why it's so precise and so perfect.
Sure.
But it's not powerful because they're also limited in their belief in it, right?
It does this one specific thing instead of basically whatever I tell it to.
Yes. It's programmed limitations, because it won't work if you don't make it work the same way, right? That's why they can do anything they want with it, but they're also limited to doing exactly what they say they're going to do with it.
Sure.
But yeah.
Interesting.
That-
Okay.
that's-
No. That's good
I find that a very
clarification.
fascinating conversation, because I feel like when you make the caster part of the circuitry of magic, it fundamentally changes how you approach things like magic items
No.
and wards and things of that sort, right? Which is why you can make like a bomb, right? You can set something on a timer on a trigger because you've set everything up already, but you can't have a bomb arm itself for a different reason, right?
A non-magic caster can theoretically use a magic item, right? I can have a fighter use a wand of fireball if I wanted to.
Theoretically, yes. There are a couple of situations where that doesn't always work, but theoretically, most magic items that are like that are designed to be used by anyone. But not all magic items can easily be used by anyone of non-magical presence. Most magical items that were designed to be used by anyone can be.
Because I'm pretty sure there's something somewhere, I don't know if it's in the Warlocks or specifically in the Find Familiar spell, but it basically allows your familiar to activate magic items for you, to like interact with like magical items and stuff like that for you. So when it comes to something like that, is it because you are enacting through your familiar that completes the magic circuit?
And it's also the intent, because we're acting on your behalf. It's still part of a circuit. It has your intent. It wouldn't have that intent without your direction, but it is your intent being acted on through that. But it still is a life. It is still a creature. That's why Mage Hand can't act on your behalf. It doesn't have intent. It's not real. Invisible Servant isn't real. It doesn't have intent. It just has orders. So Find Familiar can complete the circuit.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. I'm gonna have to play with that. I like this.
Yes, exactly, Cosmic. The difference between a spell of something and a spell scroll. Spell scrolls are designed to be cast by anybody. Spells, like a spell that's on a scroll, is not. There is actually a difference between a spell written down and a spell scroll.
A spell of something and a spell scroll
of something are two different things in D&D canon.
Yeah.
One can be cast by anybody. One can only be cast by the person who knows how to read magical writing.
The one that can be cast by anyone, can a wizard use that to put it in their spell book, or is that written a completely different way?
They both can be, I believe, done to
copied into your spell book.
Into your spell book. But it's the way that the spell, the scroll ones that anybody can cast disappear. Like this is everything.
It literally burns it up.
It is the spell control, or it is the spell component. It is everything in and of itself, which is why anyone can cast it. The other one is just the writing itself.
So would you say that, say if I had a scroll of something, right, and I am a wizard, I have to basically expend one of my own spell slots to cast it because it's my power
and everything else, because all you're reading off of is
just
the
how
recipe.
Yeah.
It's not the spell, it's the recipe. The spell scroll is written in magical ink, which becomes the magical component. It has all the things prepared, and it's written in such a way that does not require the person to understand magic. It has everything needed. Whereas the one that you made in your book, I look at your book, and unless I can read magical writing,
so in that case,
that's just writing, but I can learn the spell from it.
This is a very interesting point, because theoretically the only casters that can learn spells are wizards. The only casters that can learn spells are wizards. So that means only wizards can cast spells of things. A sorcerer wouldn't know how to do that. I don't even know how to read that stuff. Right. I get all my stuff instinctually. A druid, we just pray. We just become in tune with nature. Clerics, they get
by lore wise, yes.
That's crazy.
But I mean, no one plays it like that. Very rarely do you deal with people who deal with scrolls and spell scrolls. Like, very rarely do people deal with spells and spell scrolls, right?
Sure.
It's a thing of, again, it's kind of what we talked about before. They're there, kind of like the gods, but don't worry about them. Like, go play the game. They're there, but don't play. Just go play the game. Because I think people found them complicated. This idea that there's these two things, but I always found it fascinating because I loved the idea that that's why wizards' spell books were so powerful, because not only was it ever all of their combined knowledge, but it was also written in such a way that they could cast out of their book one time if they needed to. So that was also kind of the part of, like, their book was also kind of their own personal spell scroll. So if you were a wizard, right, and you have your spell book, you memorize spells every single day. But let's say you have none. Let's say you just got knocked out, you lost all your memorization, you woke up, and you're in a pinch, but you have your book on you. And you don't have an hour. You do not have the time to memorize. You have to get out right the fuck now. You can open that book up and cast a spell right here and now without memorization. But that spell goes away.
So
you treat it like a spell scroll.
Is it plausible for one to basically say, I have this spell in my spell book multiple times?
Oh yeah.
I can have,
that's why,
say, magic missile in my spell book 3 times. I'm memorizing the same 100%, spell. 100%.
But this is exactly why books are limited to how many spells you can have in them. Because if you did that, you wouldn't be able to memorize any of your other spells, which is why the books are so fucking important. And which is why magical books become even more important, that have extra pages. That,
dude, imagine if you had a book of infinite pages.
That's one of the crowning jewels, and that's usually what I always envision.
That's crazy.
That's usually what I envision liches getting. They usually get a book of, not necessarily infinite pages, but they get a book of,
like, ridiculously amount of pages.
Yeah. So basically, imagine like the entire encyclopedia in one single book is essentially what they have.
It's a book of holding. A book of holding.
But that's why I like that lore, is because it really gives, it's kind of, it just gives that extra tactileness of that book is so much more than just your knowledge, right? It's not just your ability to memorize. It's all of your knowledge, because without it, you can't memorize, but also with it, you can do anything in it at once, which is why, imagine this, if you could find a 9th level spell and find someone who would let you copy it, you could copy a 9th level spell into your book. You may not be able to cast it or memorize it, but if you were in a pinch, you could potentially try.
Okay.
And cast it out of your book.
So that asks the question: what if it's not of a spell level that you have access to yet? What if it's like a 9th level spell and you can only cast 5th level spells? Is it even possible for you to try that?
You can always try. The question is you don't have the ability to control that much magic. So assuming that you pull it off, what's it going to cost? Assuming it's even possible to achieve, what would it cost? Because you don't have the control.
Because, okay, think about the spell scrolls that we're talking about. If I'm casting this like a scroll, theoretically, like how any Joe Schmo that's not a magic caster would cast a spell from a scroll, right? They don't have the magic to cast that. So they're just casting it from the skull, and it's consuming everything to cast the magic itself. So would it not be the same in the book?
No, because you would have had to make it so. So when you put something in your book, you're writing it with usually magical ink. You're writing it in such a way to where it's permanent for you, but you can also recast it later. It's part of the ritual, right? This is your book. You're not scribbling this shit. This is stuff where you're late at night, you're losing an hour of sleep.
Oh, absolutely.
Your calligraphy is perfect. This is your book. Every page is painstakingly written. So that's part of the ritual, and that ritual implants that book. You wouldn't be able to do that ritual with a 9th level spell. You wouldn't be able to put enough into it in order to cast it, right? You're not capable of controlling that much magic. But if you had all of the things of the spell and you tried to cast it, just like anybody trying to cast magic that's beyond that, most likely it's going to fail. But if you pull it off somehow, it's kind of like putting too much power through an outlet that it can't handle. One end is going to give.
So the question is, when is the outlet supposedly occurring? Is it when you put it in the book? So if, say, theoretically I had a 20th level mage take my book and put a 9th level spell in my book for me,
that can be done.
And then later on, I'm not memorizing it, but I am casting it from the book and like removing it, would that work easier?
Yes. Like a spell scroll, no, because it's your book and you're casting somebody else's magic. There's a bit of a conflict. It works better, but it still costs you something. But it works. One has a major chance to fail. The other will work, but it'll still take something out of you. It just won't be as devastating. And that's mainly because the book and you are tied together. It's not your magic. So you're trying to cast someone else's magic through your book. Usually what this revolves, and I'll just kind of give you, you don't play a wizard, but usually what this involves is the first one is a very difficult spell fail. Very unlikely chance you'll even pass. If you do, it's usually you're the outlet. Like you're the outlet that's about to get fried. Right? You just have way too much going through you and you're fucked.
You're just going to take stupid amounts of damage or some sort of like...
You're probably going to lose... You could lose everything from intelligence to languages to max HP. So yeah, you can get fucked. You probably don't lose levels, but you could get fucked. If someone else were to write in your book and then you try it, it's most likely your book that's going to get fucked. So
you could corrupt like other spells of yours or something?
As little as you could burn a couple of the pages that it was written on, to you could lose half your book. And if your book was full, that's also half your spells. So again, it's the change of the outlet, but it's still a conflict of interest because you should... Now again, the reason why a spell scroll consumes itself is because it had everything it needed. It had all of the potential, because if a spell has verbal, somatical, and material, that spell scroll has to contain all versions of that. Because you're not doing the finger things, you're just reading off of it. So it has to take what you say and how you say it, which you're not a wizard, you don't know how to say these words. So it has to do all of the heavy lifting, which is why it basically evaporates. Why it literally has to consume itself, and why itself is a magical item. But when it's in your book, or when it's coming from you, one of you two has to do the heavy lifting, because you're not of the ability to control the magic. And if that heavy lifting isn't on a spell scroll, and it's in your book, well, where's the heavy lifting coming from? So at worst, it will consume your book.
Interesting. Very interesting.
And again, it's the balance of power, because everybody will find a way around it. So there has to be a way, there has to be a connection, and that connection has to be able to handle the amperage. Like, put it like electricity. There has to be a full loop or a complete circuit, and that circuit has to be of enough gauge in order to handle the electricity. If one of those things isn't incomplete, catastrophe will happen.
So I actually fully forget, and I've played one before, I fully forget how artificers actually work when it comes to preparing their spells and stuff, but I feel like artificers should be the same as wizards when it comes to how they learn spells, basically, because to a certain extent, because
I agree.
I feel like
I made different ones.
I feel like artificers, they don't create spells through words. They create spells through technology. They create
Yeah.
they create their magic through items rather than words in a book.
To me, artificers are the natural versions. Technically, in High Point realm or in High Point lore, like artificers are the embodiment of what spell engineering is. Like to me, when they create devices, it's because they know it's not. They see magic as a flow, so they know that if you put these things together, magic will flow through them and create a outcome.
Yeah.
Instead of everybody else who wants to command magic, they just see, like, some people want to take a bucket, like wizards are people with a bucket, and they go into a water source and they take the water out of the source and they go, I can do shit with this bucket. They can go to a river, they can go to a lake. An artificer is the person who goes, if I dig a ditch and put some wood up, I can make the water go this way.
Sure.
That's to me the fundamental difference is one takes the water and does shit with it. One goes, but look, the water's moving. And if I put shit in the way of it, it goes that way now. And if I do this, it makes a water, and they just learn how to manipulate water, whereas the others took water and do shit with
I
it.
kind of feel like there should be a way for like artificers, like if you see a spell enough times and maybe you have to do like an arcana check on it or something like that, you can recreate that spell effect. And basically like add that spell to your arsenal in some way, shape, or form. Similar to how if a wizard finds a spell out in the wild, he can copy it into his spell book.
Technomancers. That's a good way to put artificers.
There you go.
Technomancers.
There you go. I like that.
This is another interesting ability. I want to know what you say, because this one also kind of confuses me. If you possess the features such as Eyes of the Runekeeper, which allows you to understand all written languages, you may apply this feat's bonus only when reading written effects, not against spoken spells or abilities. So this is what I don't understand. The ability itself is only against spells you can hear, but now this is saying if you can read it. So I don't understand, because this is saying like, so if I read a spell that's in Dwarven, I read it in Dwarven and I activate it in Dwarven, does this mean that I can activate because I activated it in Dwarven and I knew Dwarven at the moment? But this kind of also goes against, then why do all of these not work? Like these don't work, but this.
Okay,
I'm
so
kind of confused.
I need to figure out where Eyes of the Runekeeper comes from. Is it there's a Rune Knight. I feel like it might be in there somewhere.
Yeah, Cosmic, can you give us some more insight on this? Because I'm not really sure the difference between why passive means of understanding languages like comprehend languages, monk's tongue, and his tongue spells don't work, but Eyes of the Runekeeper does work. But not when speaking the language, only when reading the effects. But I don't understand also when do you read an effect, but not, you know what I'm saying? Like when would this activate?
That's exactly what I'm thinking. It's like you may apply this feat's bonus only when reading written effects. And it's like, okay, if I'm reading a written effect, does that mean the effect is activating when I read it? Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Do I have to read it out loud?
Like, so if I have a rune that I can't activate because I don't know the language, and so I use Runekeeper to say, oh, it's in Dwarven and here's the word, and then I use that word to activate it, then therefore my feat activates because I knew the language using Runekeeper. But I don't understand, if that's the case, how is that different than me using comprehend languages when there's a spell again? You know,
I think the answer will come when I figure out where Eyes of the Runekeeper comes from.
Eyes of the Runekeeper is a Pact of the Tome warlock.
It is a warlock. Okay,
so it's a warlock thing. I'm just trying to figure out, how does Runekeeper activate this feat? That's my main thing, is I don't understand how Runekeeper activates the feat in general. Unless it's the whole thing where it's in a language that you don't understand. Eyes of the Runekeeper lets you understand it, and then
Eyes of the Runekeeper just says you can read all writing.
Okay, yeah, you just read all writing.
It's a warlock invocation that says you can read all writing. Now, to your question, the way this is written is fairly generalized. So you could read it as though I now am proficient in, you know how it says like reading and writing. I can read and write common. I can read, write, and speak common. I can now just read all languages.
Again, so if I have a rune that's written in a language I don't understand, but I have this, I could say, oh, this says water. But that's not going to activate the rune because water isn't the activated word. Water is the translation, because I can read this word and I know in my language it says water. but because I can read it doesn't mean I know how to say it.
Sure, absolutely.
So then it wouldn't work, because just because I can read this rune doesn't activate the rune.
I'm not sure what we need that's supposed to be telling me.
Because to me this says that sure, I could read this and I know what it is, but so is it the same saying, like let's say you're holding up a rune and I use rune thing going, oh, I know what that rune says. So when you activate it, because I know what it says, that doesn't make any sense either.
Yeah. Especially because you're so specific earlier about being able to hear it.
Yes, and then comprehend languages. If I could hear you saying the spell, but that doesn't work because it's still not
translation matrix. Yeah.
So again, no translation works. So I'm really having a hard time understanding how Runekeeper works. And so far, my only thing I don't like about this is this one additional note. I just don't think it should work for magical items. I think it should only work on actual verbal component spells. I think magical items is a push. That's my only, and really that kind of also encompasses Runekeeper, I think.
Yeah.
In general. So that's really my only feedback is I would not let it affect magical items, just because I think, again, it's kind of like going back to the bowman, right? If you have two bowmen, one knocking an arrow on a bow and one holding a crossbow. If you look at disrupting the spell or counterspell as like kicking him in the hip. If you kick the dude with the bow in the hip, he's probably going to undo the bow, right? That's the idea. He's done.
You're messing it up.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if he does anything, the bow's done. But if you kick the dude with the crossbow, the bow is still ready. The crossbow's still ready to fire.
As long as you didn't accidentally pull the trigger.
Yeah, the trigger is still there ready to go. And that's where I feel the difference between when you try to stop the bowman, there's a lot more you could do to stop him. But trying to stop the magical item from the trigger is just not something that you can be that precise with. Which is why I don't necessarily think, like, same logic applies of why counterspell doesn't work on magical items. You know what I mean? It's like it's just that kind of idea of there's just not really a countering aspect that you're doing. It's too.
That's a good point.
It's not quick. It's too quick, and there's so many layers.
I don't think I've ever actually had that question if counterspell works on magical items,
because it's not technically a spell being cast. It's an effect. It's D&D sucks at their language sometimes, and this is why I've done what I've done with High Point, because sometimes it's not that I've homebrewed a lot, it's just that I've redefined.
You filled in the holes where you see them. Absolutely.
I've just divided things into more words.
So would you say in High Point there is a way to counter a magical item, like outside of anti-magic? Like if somebody's using a magical item and I want to react to their activation of that magical item to potentially stop it from functioning, is there a spell or is there an ability that could do something like that?
This is one of those things where, is there technically something that you could do? Yes, but this is where both narratively and just physically, the act of action versus reaction, right? Someone actively about to do something and then you getting in the way of it.
Sure.
Versus something happening and then you reacting after the fact, right? Reacting to versus, reacting after. It's like that proactive versus reactive, I guess.
Sure.
And that's where, to me, there has to be a fundamental difference of when does that line get crossed. And it is kind of something like that, where if it is activating a magical item, how much time do you really have? How much time do you know that item is being active when it's being active? And then for you to do your thing, and then for it to
sure
again, just that whole
and it would very much
like,
depend upon like how much I actually have to do. Like the shield spell, I think the shield spell is meant to be a spell that is cast so quickly and so reactionary that it gives you the ability to, just before you get hit with an attack, you're now unprotected.
I favor those things for things like magical items and things that are quicker, because that's what those are meant for. Whereas things that have any sort of leave up or an ability to sense that's going to happen is where I was like, okay, that's where you want to be able to maybe prevent it, which is why a spell makes perfect sense. There's going to be some sort of seconds of generating the magic, casting the spell that you can get in the way of, or bring up your own magic to shut them down. But a magical item is kind of like someone pulling out a gun that's already cocked, locked, and ready to go. What are you going to do to the trigger? Like, unless you can take out their finger, the trigger is going to get pulled. Like, to me, there's got to be that line, unless you can control time, or again, unless you're an artificer and just happen to have like very certain understanding. Like, yes, always an example of what could get around the rule. But at the end of the day, the main rule is there's got to be a division of when you have to be reactionary versus proaction. or proactive. And again, things like the shield spell wouldn't exist if you could always get ahead of it. If you could always stop the spell from happening,
Sure.
no one would ever need the shield spell.
Yeah.
So to me, there is always a way, but it's not as simple as, well, I can counterspell a magical item because, well, then the magical item is just another spell, right? Like, that's why we made magical items. It's because eventually it was like, wait a second, if I can cast something faster than you, you can't counterspell me. Evolution.
True.
And then someone was like, well, if you can do that so fast, then I gotta have the shield spell, which is faster than you.
So I'm actually curious. Reading this, and Cosmic, give us some clarification if you have any. How do you think this would affect you if somebody casts Magic Missile? Would it do nothing? Because Magic Missile does have a verbal component.
And it has, yeah, well, and it auto hits and it has no save.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't get this bonus.
I mean, the bonus would be irrelevant. You can have the bonus, but it's irrelevant.
Because it does nothing for damage.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Magic Missile wouldn't work on it. So yeah, there are some cases where, and it wouldn't work for AoE spells.
It would. Saving
throws. Yeah.
Saving throws.
So it would still kind of protect you.
You would at least be more likely to take half damage.
Yeah. So yeah, so that would be so right now I would just say, like, my only thing is just take out the additional notes. I think it works great as it's written. I think allowing it to happen with magical items is just a personal choice.
Sure.
So that will have to be up to the DM who chooses it. All right, and then so with this one, I like it though. I think it's pretty good. I like that it's not a counterspell. I like that it's kind of a personal protection. Like, it's just something that you've been, again, this isn't making you magical. It's just saying that I've been around magic long enough. I know what magic sounds like, and I'm a little bit more hyper aware. So I can be ready to react to magic. And even knowing about magic, even if you're not magical yourself, like, it has that sense of almost like, that spirit protection. Like, even if you're not a magical creature, you still have a essence of energy around you. And that understanding, you can say that there's a barrier there, right? So I like it. I think it's great. I would only remove that one extra part. I do like that it's tied to your language. There's a couple different ways you could do it, but really, I think most people averaging 2 languages, and even we have a different the designer note here that says that this was meant to go with the linguistic feat, which would add to the amount of languages you have, giving you that +4. I think it's a great feat all around. Let's see, would I actually change anything? The intelligence and wisdom, I actually think it's good. I think that prerequisite is pretty solid. I don't mind it at all.
Me too.
I don't know. I actually want 2 versions of this. I'll give it the inspiration point. I'll give this one a 9 out of 10 because I would have to change it up, but I almost want a second version of this where one works this way and then the other one works for languages that you don't know, and essentially gives you the ability to, if you like essentially when you don't know a spell is coming, it gives you a pre-knowledge of whether or not a spell is happening, even though you don't know the language or you don't know magic. So I would retweak it somehow, because I like that this one is languages you know, but I want one that expands into languages you don't.
Valid.
Or have a choice. When you take this feat, it can be languages you know or languages you don't know. And then you can take this feat again to make all languages. Because, I mean, burning 2 feats to do this with all languages would be kind of dope, because at that point, especially if you're in like a campaign that you're like traveling dimensions or going different places, you could justifiably see a use for this being situational. So I could see this feat going either direction as a choice, and then if you take it a second time, it covers all languages. That would be very situational of who would want to use it.
Sure.
But I do think that that's something that you don't get to see in feats very often is like being able to take them twice for a bonus.
Yes, there's a couple that you can take, but they just allow you to choose different things, like skilled. You can just choose different skills, or I think it's resistant. You can choose.
It's many feats in one. Really.
You're just basically choosing different ones. Like I choose charisma this time. I choose constitution this time. I choose. you know, but like actually compounding on top of each other, I do think that's a cool idea.
Yeah, I really like that you went with 2 stats instead of 1.
Yeah.
And I think 13 is a really solid choice for that.
Normally-
it's not too low, but
Normally when they have 2, it's or. I love that it was and.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it works both lore wise, but I also just think that again 5e panders to the players too much. I think stuff like this is necessary for players to really. It's too easy to build a super powerful creature. That's where I want more of this stuff where you have to give and take if you want the build you want. You have to have, because it's too easy to be like, I want the build I want, and look at all the cool shit it came with. Well, but where's the balance? Where's the sacrifices you had to make to get here?
It's so interesting. I was thinking about doing a dive into not only all of the standard classes, but a lot of the stuff that we've gotten as homebrews. And I think it would be so cool and so valuable to just pull out class features that could work as just feats.
Yeah.
And then just like bring like imagine if there was a jack of all trades or whatever it's called class where instead of a specific life path, you just get to choose 1 or 2 feats every time you hit a level marker. And those are the abilities that you get. And so you can like basically build what you are, you know, as you go through. And it's a very like unique way of creating your own type of synergy based upon what you want to do, whether you want to be melee, whether you want to be, you know, I
basically just want to build it the way we used to do back in 2nd edition.
I mean,
just piecemeal every little piece back together.
Listen, it's all about the journey. It's like
it is. It 100% is, man.
So I'm dealing with some of my players right now, and they're talking about, hey, like, you know, later in the campaign, I want this to happen. They're trying to like plan out like stuff that's. I'm like I don't. It's not like a bad thing necessarily to like want your character to have certain experiences, but it's like
but don't be locked in. Don't like be willing to see that.
Yes,
be the
you got to be
choice.
there for the journey, man. Like you got to be there to like. You never know what you're gonna come across. Like if I had planned out Dobbs' whole, like there's certain things I want to do with Dobb that he's like walking towards, but whenever he comes along the way, like he's ready and prepared for that to occur. You know, same for Olo. So I don't know. I'm super here for it. I'm super here for it.
Yeah. All right. So cool. So 9 out of 10 on that one. Not
love
bad,
it. Love it. Love
Very
it.
good. I like the idea. I think stuff like this is missing for 5e, and I think it's a good inspiration for a lot of people out there making some new stuff.
Absolutely.
All right, so that was the older one. Now let's move to the newer one called False Start. Starting with the description, this prerequisite is 4th level, so kind of interesting because you can't really start with any feats. Or
Depending on your DM and depending on what version you're using, there's a lot of like humans. Theoretically, in 2014 5th edition, if you are a human, you have the ability to start with a feat.
Gotcha. Okay.
And
so there are rare occasions.
There are sometimes, and sometimes certain DMs will just say, "Hey, all of my players at character creation, you can just have a free feat."
So in that case, I'd almost make this go. I'd almost push this to 6th level then, because I think you get one at 4th and 6th usually.
4th and 8th for all classes. Some rare classes will get them at 6, like fighters.
Okay, and you don't want to wait till 8th for this one. Okay, so and yeah, it's interesting to have to prerequisite that one or two off use cases.
Sure.
But we'll see if it's justified. But at 4th level, you've learned to subtly disrupt the flow of combat, making others hesitate just long enough for you or your allies to act. That's interesting. Okay.
Like, give me like a little starting gun, you know, tripping out or something like that.
Is this gonna like shift initiative? I'm curious. Okay, let's see what this does. So effects: when a creature you can see rolls initiative, you can use your reaction to impose a negative d6 penalty to the initiative of up to 1d4 creatures you can see. Interesting. So you roll d6 and you can give that. And I'm assuming that's not divided amongst them. That's just all of them get.
I would imagine it's each. So like if I rolled a 3 on the d6,
they all get a negative 3.
They all get a negative 3 to wherever your thing is. Okay.
Okay. So let's see. So targets. If enemy only, roll the penalty once and apply to all targets. If mixed, allies and enemy, roll separately for each creature. Interesting. At that point, I think you would just roll for enemies that roll for allies.
Yeah, just do the 2 rolls.
Yeah, I don't know why you would roll for each creature once you've separated. I think.
And I'm assuming allies, you're giving them a plus, not a minus. Because it doesn't theoretically say that.
Yeah, and if fewer than the rolled number of enemies are present, willing allies must be included to meet the total. But if no one's willing, then...
So like if I'm in a one-on-one battle and I use this, like...
Allies is a minus altogether.
Allies is a minus.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So an ally has to be willing to be moved back in the order. Interesting.
Yeah, so I would either remove this just in general, or I would just change it to if fewer are rolled. I don't know if I would say willing. I would just say, you know, if you were, you know, well, because what is it?
I would say the only reason that I would say willing is if there was a saving throw, willing would make sense. But if there's no saving throw, if it just happens, it doesn't matter for willing, because the enemies aren't willing.
Wait though. So because it says fewer than the rolled number of enemies, but there's no roll for enemies. It says when creatures you can see roll initiative, you impose a negative D6. Oh,
but it's a D4 for how many?
I didn't see the up to D4 creatures. So, okay, so I'm also going to say that something like this, just there doesn't need to be this many rolls.
Sure.
I don't like if I'm rolling the D6, I don't need the D4. If I'm rolling for up to D4 creatures, I don't need the D6, right? Like, I feel like there's just going to be...
I think one of those numbers should be static.
Exactly. Just make it simpler instead of having to...
Make the number of creatures your proficiency bonus. Ooh. and make the
up
penalty...
to your proficiency bonus number of creatures.
Yeah.
Bam!
And then roll the D6.
Yeah. Yeah, I like
now, are they saying that there's a limit to how often you can do this, or you can do this anytime initiative is rolled?
Uses. You can use this feature once per long rest. If your dexterity modifier is 0 or lower, you gain 1 additional use.
So yeah,
daily.
Because wait, what?
If your dexterity is 0 or if your dexterity modifier is 0 or lower, you get an additional use of this for some reason.
Low dexterity?
If you have shitty dexterity, you get to do this twice.
So weird.
I've never heard of that. It's a
so
bonus,
weird.
Bonus for dexterity.
I'm not mad at that. I don't know if I would use it here, but I'm not mad at that idea. I think more things should be like, hey, you get this advantage if this thing is low, because everybody wants high dex. Everybody wants high dex.
And then, so let's see timing. You must decide to use this feature after the initiative roll is made, but before the order is finalized.
I really don't know what that means, because as soon as you roll, like, you just put it in order. So it's just like I'm assuming it's before the first person goes in combat.
Yeah, before the round starts, but after initiative is rolled. But see, why even after the initiative is rolled? It's like at the start of initiative.
Because like if you're already imagine,
because you're not reacting, because initiative isn't an action, so you're not reacting to that. You're just reacting to the fact that initiative has started.
Sure. You know, and I'm assuming unless you're surprised, you're aware that you're about to enter into combat, right? You're aware that like shit just got serious and you're starting whatever.
Ooh, reactions used this way do not recharge at the start of your first turn in combat, even if you end up acting first.
Oh, I like that.
So
I like that.
I do like that.
So you're using this is your reaction for the turn.
Okay, so Cosmic says the point is that Dex is too much of a kingpin stat. It's meant to let low Dex builds have a chance of going first. I mean, that's fine. I'm not really sure this is like, it's a very strange way to highlight a Dex. You know what I mean? Like to highlight a low Dex build.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I don't know if I would like, I'm just trying to think of like, if I were to build a low dex build, would this really stand out because it lets me do this one extra ability? You know what I mean? Like, and if I didn't have a dex build, then it doesn't matter at all. So
I get the idea that most low dex builds go low to last in combat.
Yeah.
You know, so if you want to like go be more likely to be higher up in combat, this would be a cool feature to have. Like, I get that, but you know, again, because generally speaking, you only get to use this once or twice a day. I'm really thinking the whole, if fewer than the rolled number, like you have to, I think most of that's irrelevant, right? I think that being able to say, hey, going into this situation, do I want to use this? There's at least 4 enemies out here. Sure, I want to use this. There's at least 4 enemies. Now, does it say they have to be within a certain range of you? Or can they be like 1,000?
Just as long as you can see,
as long as you know that they're there and they're a part of initiative.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would. I really like the idea because I'm trying to play with like how the stats would work, but I like both the idea of rolling a d4 or a d6 for the number of creatures affected, and I can shift all of the affected creatures back a number of points in initiative equal to my proficiency bonus.
Oh, so you're saying the knockback
that's one option.
Okay.
Or the other option is I can roll a d6 and up to a number of creatures equal to my proficiency modifier are knocked back in initiative that much.
Got you.
I can see both of those. Both of those work beautifully because it's pushing a number of creatures back up to 6, or it's pushing a number of creatures, or up to 6 creatures back a number. Both of those really do work, especially for this, because if it's up to 6 creatures back by 4, or up to 4 creatures back by 6 for the entire fight, that's devastating, especially after initiative is rolled. Because really what this should say is timing. You decide to use this after initiative is rolled, but before the first takes their turn. That's really what the wording should say.
Yeah.
Because if all of a sudden you're on a battle and all of the enemies go first, you can change that. You can shift all of them down to where all of your buddies go first.
So here's a question about metagaminess. Because theoretically, when you start, you don't know a creature's AC.
Yeah.
Right? But also theoretically, you don't necessarily know their order in combat. All you know is if somebody hit you first, right? Like a lot of the times nowadays, you'll see like a lot of DMs will give you the full list of combat. This person goes first, this person goes next,
you're gonna know.
But like realistically, I don't know that until or unless you go. And if you're doing something like you do with dynamic initiative, that's changing every single round. Like this would be, with dynamic initiative, almost useless unless you get to do it every time initiative is rolled.
How I would run this is, however we decide the penalty, that would stick with them for the rest of combat. So every time they rolled initiative, they'd have that ongoing negative.
Oh, so that negative would be...
So if it's a -2,
you get a -2 every
round they rolled, they would go rolling in with a -2. So it doesn't always matter. They would always be knocked.
Sure.
Or it would be for a number of rounds. I'm not really sure how I would run this, but
sure.
That's how I would do it. Is it would be an ongoing penalty to their initiative until a certain. But yeah, so with this, it's like I really like it. I just think that 2 rolls up front is a little bit strange. I'm not sure why I would put my allies backward in initiative. And again, the only time this works is if you have like a team where 2 people are like, hey, if they go first and then I go, there's this cool combo.
Sure.
But most teams don't think or build that way. And when they do, it's situational. Even if you have someone on your team that could kind of do this at certain combats, I don't necessarily know that that's enough of encouragement for teams to make these kind of synergies to where it matters specifically that character goes before this character. So
sure.
Moving your allies back in initiative, I don't understand the benefit to, right? Specifically in this one, which is why I wouldn't mind like, a number of creatures that you can see up to your proficiency modifier can be moved in initiative by 1d4. If they're allies, they can be, and just say that they can be moved in any direction. So it's your choice, if you want to move an ally up or an ally back. Like, let's say it's like ally, enemy, ally, and you want to move this one back and this one forward. So you've sandwiched them different. Like,
Sure.
I feel like that. Like, I don't mind you being able to mess with initiatives. It's just that I don't know. I would much prefer we don't mess with allies at all. Like, it would just be easier to mess with the enemies. It's to me, it's hard to justify. I'm trying to think of it from a 5th edition beneficial standpoint. Why would I move you, my ally, backwards? Why wouldn't I want all of us to?
Well,
be able to all go
I
at
will
once?
say there are times where I've been in combat and I've been happy to go last, because a lot of the times, like say, like very recently I was playing a wizard that was primarily a support wizard. Like I intentionally took literally one damage dealing spell. Everything else was support. I would put it on my allies. I would do
Right.
other
So
stuff.
you want to go after the
So,
enemies to see if you can heal
going
by the end of the
after
round.
everybody, I can see where everyone's at. I can see what's happened to the battlefield. I can see where I can be of most assistance, you know, things like that. Like there are times where I want to go last.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I agree with you. I think that this would be a lot, from my perspective, a lot cleaner if it was focused on just enemies. Like I just want to move these people back in combat because I want to make myself go first. It lends to the naming convention. It's a false start. They think they're going, but they're really not. And kind of like what you were talking about earlier when it comes to like what a feat is, we're talking about, does this feel like a physical thing that I'm able to do? Right.
Mhm.
And if so, like, how am I actually implementing this thing? Like, what am I doing to stop these people from going? What am I doing to help my allies to go sooner? So I think it would be a little easier to explain how I trip up the enemy to go slower, or to just basically, like it initially said in the introduction, is to hesitate right before they begin. I feel like that's a much easier thing to articulate how it would go down, and that would make the most sense to me. So if it just focused on enemies and was just like, hey, you can move X number of enemies back in initiative X amount, boom, great, and
Yeah.
everything else can be the same. I love the idea of the dexterity. I might use it in a different way, but again, I see why they chose that for
Yeah.
this.
And it's funny, everyone keeps agreeing with you about there's benefits to going last, but the thing is the person who wants to go last isn't in control of it. Like, there are reasons to want to go last, but for someone on your team to take this feat, to know that you like to go last,
Sure.
use this feat to make you go last is not realistic. That is not how 5th edition is played.
Sure.
And at 4th level, 8th level, at what point is that conversation going to come up? Like, hey, you should take this feat to ensure that I go last, because I like there are reasons to go last, but I don't see
I
there's
can
a reason
see
to have a feat that affects anyone on your
Yeah.
team, just in case there's someone who wants to go last. Again, you can just move the enemies up and force that person to go last. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's like, I just, to me, I don't know if that's enough of a justification for me to go with that. Also, if we're gonna go with this idea of like, if it's being focused on the enemies too, I would change this to well, usually dexterity, like, well, yeah, no, this could actually be good because it's not about dexterity. It would be about either strength or whatever. But if your dexterity modifier is 0 or lower, you gain a surprise round of attack this round. So you activate this at the roll of initiative. You get a whole ass round of surprise. Then you get the false start with everybody. So everyone rolls initiative. You shift everyone back. You get one free round.
I'm not
and
gonna lie.
then-
I think that's way better than getting another use of it.
Yeah.
I think that's way better than getting another use of it.
And
Even
the whole day, like, who cares about another combat? But in this combat, I get a whole free round for myself. That's that benefit to that dexterity will never get.
yeah, because
you're just that's your false, and that's how you're activating the false. Like, that could be one of the reasons why you're saying you're activating the false start. Is you're being the distraction.
unless I had a lot more uses of this, using it more than one time a day is not gonna be that crazy, because I'm gonna be selective about when I use this, no matter what. I'm gonna be specific of what battle is gonna be valuable for me to control the
let's face it,
initiative.
how many battles are you doing in a day? 3 max?
You know, it very
Maybe
much
5?
it very much depends on the DM. Like for me, I'm doing 1 or 2 battles a session.
For a long rest.
Yeah.
Well,
You know what I'm
between
saying?
long rest though.
Yeah,
Like
that's fair.
maybe
That's fair.
3,
There will be moments where there will be a lot, but
yeah, it's like, I don't feel like this is gonna like hurt that much to only be able to do it 1 for combat. But if you really wanted to throw dexterity a bone, like giving them a free extra round, like a surprise round of combat, would be kind of dope.
yeah.
Because that technically doesn't have anything to do with dexterity. That could just be just intimidation. That could just you just
Sure.
do a stupid move and run in there and then you get to do something, and then all of a sudden they hesitate because they don't know what's happening, and then that's where the delay happens.
Exactly.
So Cosmic's fighter had a 0 dex, so he has 2 uses per day. Wanted to design something with a sort of reverse scale. I mean, again, the idea that you get bonuses, again, the 5th edition has completely gotten rid of this idea of true balancing, where high positives come with negatives and high and low negatives come with positives. They don't have that anymore. Their idea of balance is min-maxing.
Sure.
Right? But again, I don't mind having this idea. It's just I like the idea of bonusing dexterity. I just don't know if it makes sense to do this more than once per day as a specific way to bonus a dex build. I'd like it to bonus a non-dex build in a different way, because I don't want the person who has a good dex build to take this and go, well, I'm missing out on half the spell or half the feat.
Sure.
But if someone who doesn't have a good dex can take this feat and they get 2 things, not just the 2 of it, they get 2 different things.
Yeah.
Totally different. Like, because again, how often, again, usually dex doesn't get to go very often in high initiative. Like you said, they usually last in initiative. So imagine being able to just go before anyone else. Just have your own free ass round.
The whole everybody.
So I think there's a bit there. So I like it. I think it has a lot of potential. I think a lot of people could use it. My biggest concerns, or at least my biggest piece of advice, change one of these to a flat. Do a flat.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
Proficiency. Change one of these to proficiency, and then the other can be a dice roll. And maybe just do something else with dex. Give it a different ability. Give it something related to, but different. Hell, I mean, you could even make it as simple as, if your dexterity is 0, you also gain a +2 to all your initiative rolls. Kind of almost like the exact opposite of what you would expect a 0 dex to get.
You said if your dexterity is 0, you get a
+2 to like your initiative rolls.
Interesting.
So it's like you don't get the dex bonus, but you do get the initiative bonus for taking this.
You get a yeah.
So you no longer end up in the back of the class. So something like that. I feel like there could just be something different. But other than that,
Sure.
that's really it. And yeah, but I like it. I think it's pretty strong. I think the special too is really great. Not getting your reaction back immediately is really, really good.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I would just change the verbiage here. It's just but before the first turn order.
Right.
Otherwise, yeah, though it's good. I love. It's gonna get the inspiration point because I love things that mess. Like I really feel that nothing messes with initiative enough, or really at all to that extent. So I'll give this one a 7 out of 10.
Okay,
pretty strong. I'd make some modifications to it, but I still think it's a very rock solid idea for a feat.
Dope.
Playing with initiative is definitely something that 5th edition needs to
do,
consider.
or at least have out there a little bit more often.
Really
I agree.
do. They have nothing. They have nothing for initiative, and it sucks so bad. But yeah, not bad. Thank you, Cosmic. That was 2 good feats from Cosmic there. 2 really solid scores, a 9 and a 7.
Absolutely.
That should have brought up his average.
I don't know what it was before, but his average is a 7 now.
All right. I want to say, I think average used to be I think there was like a 6, like I think it was a high 6. I think it was like a 6.8 or something. I want to say.
Okay. Fair enough.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Cosmic, you might remember what your old average was, but it is now a 7. So congratulations. You're back to the above average category.
Bringing it back.
Well, I think that is the average category. I think across the last time I looked at the leaderboard.
Oh yeah,
I think 7 is the average.
That's kind of fair. Let's see.
Has been for ages. Well, you got to give us more. I mean, we also haven't gotten a review from you in a minute. Like I think this is like the newest stuff we've gotten.
Yeah, this is it actually. I think yeah, this is the last we have.
We're still like 4 or 5 weapons. We're still waiting for like 4 or 5 of the
Yeah, we need to finish the scale thing. There's one of them that we still is theoretically TBD because it was unfinished.
It was not complete
when we reviewed it the first time.
Yeah, there was a pinnacle, right?
I think so.
I think it was the pinnacle. But yeah, we have, because there were supposed to be, I think, 7 of those shield or the scales. I think we only went through 3 of them. So I want to say we have like 4 or 5 left.
Yeah, at least.
So yeah, we need that from Cosmic. I know we have a whole bunch of stuff We have a couple things from Dez, but Dez I think is getting us some new things. We have to.
I did get a new class from Dez, and I got a new Monarch class from Hecate.
Nice, very nice. Okay, that's hopeful. We need to see what Pokéniner has in store. Like they have to be brewing.
Yeah, you know, the last I got was an update from their last list, and we're dry from Pokéniner right now. We definitely need some more of those. But I really liked a lot of the stuff Pokéniner sent to us. Yeah, and I think who else was I?
Yeah, I agree with you, Cosmic. Like just initiative again. Most things in 5th edition just have too many things that make it go up, and nothing that really that hurts it. So
sure,
agreed. I like what you did there with that. Again, my stagger condition, my new condition that I've added to High Point is one of my favorite conditions recently, just because of that. Being able to force push someone in initiative, I think is just absolutely great. I think it matters more for 5th edition because again, with dynamic initiative, it only matters if they haven't gone yet. You know,
right?
Like you can only really stagger someone before their turn. But I still think that matters because of the dynamicism. If you know that you go and you like, let's say you're the fighter and we're 3 rounds in and we finally roll and you're initiative 4 and the enemy is initiative 5, or and then like somebody else is initiative 6, right? And you have the stagger ability to push them to initiative. Like you have the ability to do that. So instead of your dude dying, you could be like, instead of attacking and doing my max damage, I'm gonna bash him over the head, stagger him, push him to initiative so he doesn't fire on this guy because I know I'm not going to kill him this round, but it's going to allow this guy to maybe get away.
Exactly.
Or just the idea of being able to get that pause in there.
Dude, just knowing somebody's going to go right before you when you have like 1 hit point left. Like, hey, this enemy, I've got 1 hit point left. I'm in melee of him. I know I'm going down next turn. There's no way I'm going to evade if he hits me. And then boom, you get to go first and like,
and I know I'm not going to kill him.
You can get away. You can whatever. But just that little piece of moving him back in initiative, getting him to like pause a little bit, like, and you know,
I'm thinking about like adding that to anything like a shield bash, to where it's still an attack, you still do something. It's just because it's got to be one of those situations where it's like, you know, you can't really stop him from killing your buddy, but you can give your buddy a time to go away.
Sure,
like that's to me the value in that is sometimes you just gotta like you can even use that. I would totally use that for like an automatic, not necessarily maybe an automatic, but that would definitely hurt like a wizard spell casting. Like it would also push their spell to initiative.
Oh yeah,
like that would definitely force.
That was the other thing we were talking about. I really think we need to do more with like spell. Like imagine there was a spell that like took a turn or 2 to activate. Like that doesn't exist right now, and I think there's such possible, like again, using a smaller spell slot to do something bigger, but it takes more time, give you more time for interruption and for other things like that. So honestly,
I wouldn't even mind if like upcasting did that, where it's like it takes an extra round for every spell slot. But I mean, again, the spell upcasting doesn't actually like, it doesn't scale like that. It doesn't scale properly enough to burn that much time. But I agree with you, because I do miss how spells used to have a time frame. And what happened in between that actually mattered.
Sure.
So, you know, if you started your spell on initiative 2, but it doesn't go off till initiative 6, anybody in initiative 3 to 5 could technically interrupt you.
Sure.
Like, I miss that.
I think something cool would be like, say I'm just casting like a regular fireball spell. If I basically channel my spell for like a turn or 2, I can increase it. If for every turn that I channel it, I can add a die of damage to it, or something simple like that. It's like I'm imbuing more and more power.
So you're basically saying that we have to now on stream make the channel wizard. Like that has to be a subclass where you basically, the subclass is built around like upcasting in small ways, but that's all it is you can hold almost any spell, and the longer you hold it,
you could increase an element of it or something like that. That could be kind of sick.
That could be kind of dope.
That could be kind of, yeah, absolutely.
Well, and then this is where you could have certain feats like built into this subclass, to where like this is where Ready Spell, one of my other like high point specialties, would be perfect for this kind of subclass in 5th edition, to where you get the ability to Ready Spell, which means that, you know, outside of combat, you can burn a spell slot for the day before you cast a spell. and that spell is ready on command instantly. So it can't be counterspelled. It's essentially kind of just like it's an on command, no matter how powerful the spell is. So for me, I like that in High Point because it's great. Like a lot of powerful wizards who learn this ability, they learn this specifically for a teleport, because then you can just at the beginning of your day, you just go teleport's ready.
Now, when you're holding on to that, are you holding on to it like
it's not concentration? No, it's not. It's a special ability, because there is a version where you can concentrate on holding the spell. So you basically cast a spell, and there is a technique that you can that any spellcaster can learn where you can cast a spell.
Cast.
It's just delayed casting. You've cast the spell up until the last word, but it does require concentration. And as long as you can concentrate, the spell's sitting there waiting for you. But it takes you holding it.
Mm-hmm.
Ready spell is essentially a spell within a spell. It is you casting the spell, and it's a different version of contingency, to where you basically cast a spell with like a minor contingency, and the spell's done. It's ready to go at that contingency, but it's like usually on your person.
I think there should be a mechanic for being able to tell if someone's concentrating on a spell.
I love that.
I think that like walking around, I shouldn't just automatically know, oh, you're concentrating on a spell, you're on, but like I feel like there should be a way to find out, because you're gonna move and operate differently when you're concentrating on a spell than when you're just walking around chilling.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I 100% agree with that.
Okay.
But yes, like those kind of things are absolutely there, because again, like being able to hold your spell is so clutch depending upon what you want, because again, in second edition, spells have time frames, right? So being able to cast some spells instantaneously without warning is so clutch.
Dude, there are certain, like, okay, I'm just looking at Prayer of Healing is the only one that I know of that takes like 10 minutes to cast. And it's meant to be like in conjunction with like a short rest and stuff like that. But I'm trying to think of like how powerful and or strong and or helpful that would be if I could just pop it out, because it's only a second level spell. It says up to 6 creatures of your choice you can see within range regain hit points equal to 2d8. That's crazy for a second level spell.
Well, and think about this. In 5th edition, like again, ready spell is just that, right? So how does that translate into 5th edition? That means it activates on a reaction. So imagine any spell on a reaction. That's essentially what that translates into. Ready spell in 5th edition would exactly be that. It's a feat where you could precast a spell and activate it on a reaction.
Because that's so good, like I feel like there has to be
action point. You could technically use any action, reaction, bonus action. Technically, it would be that.
I feel like there's got to be some sort of cost. Like, say if I'm casting a 5th level spell, I have to use my 5th level spell slot, but then I also have to use a 1st level spell slot to hold it or something like that. You know?
5th edition, I could see that.
Just because, you know, if I can just cast the spell and why would I not do that all the time? I'm going to be like, hey, I'm going to cast at least these 3 spells today, so I'm going to just do that with all of them. It doesn't require any concentration. I'm going to hold on to all these spells.
But that's usually you only get one at a time. Usually you don't get to stack held spell.
Okay.
So it's only one, and it's usually for a certain amount of time, like usually the lower powered versions are till sundown, others are 24 hours. But again, it's mainly just the purpose of delaying a really important spell, and most of them use it for getting shit out of places. It's rarely ever used for combat because, well, for them they're usually too cocky to like think that they need a secret, sucker punch.
Sure.
But for them it's more of a, I'm about to die and I can see it in your eyes that you're about to give me this last blow. I'm gone. Just, there is no question. I'm gone. I don't care. I don't have to say anything or do anything. Just put, and granted, it's also thematically great.
So,
because you could just be one of those situations where someone's like, okay, I'm going to take the final swing. And it's like, okay, as you raise your sword, they're gone.
With that, because the way you're articulating this, it makes it sound like these spells cannot be counterspelled.
Correct.
Because they're basically already done being cast. There's nothing for you to counter. There's no casting for you to stop because it's already
instantaneous.
Yeah.
That's why they're so beneficial.
Does that mean it can only occur on instantaneous spells and not spells that have a duration?
No. Because the spells that have a duration, you've already spent the duration. held spell. This is why a held spell is also.
Well, what I mean is like, say the spell effect lasts for an hour, lasts for 10 minutes. Like you cast fly on yourself that lasts for however long.
The duration will still last normal. I'm just saying the casting time is always instantaneous, which is why it bypasses counterspell. Now it won't bypass things like anti-magic field or other things like that would like spell
sure stuff that's like in place ahead of time.
Yeah, all of those things would absolutely get rid of it. It's just it's a very high level tactic that is a extremely high powered spell. I want to say I have to look it up. I honestly, off the top of my head, I can't remember if I labeled it as an 8th level or a 9th level spell
for
held spell.
Oh, so that in and of itself is its own spell that you have to cast.
Yeah, it's not like an ability. You actually, it's like that's why it's very guarded and only certain people.
So are you basically casting 2 spells simultaneously, the held spell and so that's the cost.
Yeah,
that's the cost. Okay.
Yeah, there's more cost to it than just you don't just have this ability to just I have a spell.
Sure.
It's like a whole ass thing. Yeah. And most people cast it as a ritual because then it's for free.
Absolutely.
Or for free from 5th edition's point of view, no spell
spell slot. Yeah.
In 2nd edition, they didn't have to memorize it.
Yeah.
Like it's so there's again, usually high level people do this because they can do it. They have all the time in the world every morning. They can do a whole ass hour-long ritual, get this free spell on tap, and usually it's a get out of jail free card spell because more often than not, because usually I use mostly the people that you'll see use it are extremely high powered wizards, battle mages, and demons.
Yeah.
And demons only have it because, well, let's just say a really dumb battle mage made a deal once, lost the deal, and that was the price that he had to pay, was giving up that spell. So it used to be a very high powered guarded secret of the mortal mages, and now demons have it because one dude fucked up and now it's being passed by some of the highest level demons. So some demons will have it. Most high level mages will have it, but it's also very rare. This is not something that is like in a spell book. It's not something that players can just. Out of curiosity,
what causes the limitation of only being able to hold one spell? Meaning, could somebody like a psionicist who can like split their brain or something like that potentially hold more than one? Is there any way to potentially hold more than one?
Potentially, yes. It's just the cost of magic. I mean, again, it is, I think I've labeled it as an 8th level spell. So being able to cast
multiple 8th level spells,
2 8th level spells, what is that value to you? If you do it as ritual, what's the value of all of that time? And what are you actually holding? Because you're still burning the other 2 spells. And then if you don't use them, what was the point of it all? So
sure.
Is there a way? Yes. Is it meant to be? No. It was designed to be a single use. People have abused it and have found a way around it. But just like anything, the balance is at the cost. I made sure that there's a cost enough to where, yes, could you abuse it? Sure. Would you have to have the most insane situation for it to be perfectly beneficial? Yeah. But has the person been in that situation crazy enough to do it? Yeah. And that's great, right? Like, it's that whole thing of like, there's always a situation where it can be abused and someone will try to abuse it. But on a day-to-day basis, no one's that worried. Like,
sure,
for you to go out of your way to try to do this, either you're just insane and love abuse to yourself, or you are about to do some shit and you've been planning this.
Sure.
And so, hey, all more power to you. If you've gotten this far with the planning, hey, balls to the wall, do it, right? But again, that's what
I feel like it's one of those things that like the DM would do to show you it's possible, or like just to prove a point about like how powerful somebody is or something to that effect,
or how prepared they were.
Absolutely.
But that's the thing is, it's not meant like I look at these things from the point of view. Sometimes these things come out of necessity for narration. Others come out of necessity for like the bigger picture of High Point, and some just come out of the funness of creating things. But when I think of these things, I never want something to feel like because I said so, or a deus ex machina,
absolutely,
well, you did something I didn't want you to do, right? So I always have to make sure that whenever I create something, that it is so ingrained with the consistency of High Point rules, but it's also in such a way that even if you found the right situation. You can't look at it as a, oh, you're just doing this to do it, or it's a get out of jail free card, right? Like
Sure.
me telling you now, like I think you've actually seen this spell used once. You've seen held spell used once. And specifically you saw it used by a demon. You didn't know they were a demon because they were in disguise.
You talking about Davd?
No. This was in the 5e Discord in the future.
Oh.
It was when y'all were dealing with the captive.
That's very possible.
And you guys were in a fight with it, and you guys tried to capture him. And then he was just like, well, I can't deal with you all, but hey, I'll see you at Underholm, which was kind of a thing where he was letting you all know that he was looking for it. And then he just disappeared. And it was like at the end of the fight, and he was you guys were basically winning, just destroying all the minions. But that's exactly what it was for. He was one of the few demons who got his hands on it. And that's exactly what it's for, is because he's a fucking scoundrel. And he doesn't know how to fight. He just usually tries to hope that he can manipulate his way, and he can't. But those are the times he uses it. Now, I know a lot of people are like, oh, so you just didn't want us to kill an NPC. I'm like, well, A, I don't want you to kill any NPC. But B, I'm not going to save an NPC for the sake of, because I like them. That's on the NPC to be smart enough to do so.
Sure. He
is smart enough to do so in that exact way. But the funny part is he got away from you guys killing him, which y'all didn't realize is he shapeshifter. He's actually, you guys met him like 2 days later. Like you guys were fighting him, he disappeared, and you guys were hella mad. I know specifically one of my players in that group was
not happy about it.
Never happy about narrative changes like that. Never happy. Just expectations were, we should have killed them. That was not fair. It's like, hey, that's just how the game works. But what's funny is they shapeshifted, and literally they were a prisoner in y'all's village 2 days later, just in a different form.
That's crazy.
But the whole point was that whole dungeon, that prison cell was supposed to be for you guys as an option to go interrogate the prisoners.
Sure.
Had you interrogated him, he would have eventually slipped character, and you would have realized it's him, because he would have said something very similar to what he had said to you at the same day. And then it would have just been like okay, you caught me, but he wouldn't have had his spell anymore. So because he would have used it. And that's the beauty of it, right? Is it's not this end all be all.
I can do whatever I want. I'm omnipotent. I'm invincible. You can just never kill me.
Yes. And that, again, that's one of the DM that I am, is I love to use overpowered NPCs, not to make my players feel like they can't do what they want. All my NPCs are there to inspire you to what you can achieve.
Absolutely.
They're never there to make you feel like you can't do something, which is why, like, I don't give you NPCs that outshine you in situations that you should be able to handle yourself in.
Sure.
And I don't force you into situations to where you need an NPC to save you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's those times where it's like NPCs do show up, but I also think that I saw this discourse online recently where people were saying that, like, players are getting upset when they meet NPCs that are more powerful than them. Like, players are saying that they're more upset about that. And I'm like, the one of two issues here. Either A, you think you are always and will be the active highest heroes, or your DM is not properly raising the stakes. Because when I played you guys through that, you guys would meet very regularly people that were 5, 10, 15 levels above you. And
valid.
It never felt like, yes, while you felt out of place and not on par with them, I don't think you ever felt out of place, into the point of like, well, then why am I even bothering? Like, why aren't they just here to do it? Because what you were dealing with wasn't on par with them, even though it was out of your reach.
Sure.
And what they were dealing with was way beyond you, but there was also shit beyond them. And it's like, to me, that's how NPCs should always feel. NPCs, like, if you meet an NPC, you should always feel like you're gaining on them and looking at them as something that you want to become and actually achieving that. What I don't agree with is when you constantly have NPCs who are always miles ahead of you. And it's like you never meet anybody equal or lower, or you never meet someone that you can achieve to.
Sure.
And that's what I try to make sure that I don't do, is if you meet at level 5, if you meet a level 15 NPC and run with them for a while, you are going to very quickly catch up, because they're not leveling up as fast as you.
Absolutely.
Period. So the longer they're with you, the quicker you're going to catch up to them. But at the same time, not every NPC has the adventuring spirit, right? So just because you met at level 10 doesn't mean that they're adventuring and leveling up like you. Maybe they got all that shit years ago. Maybe they're
good at chilling at level 10. Maybe that's all they want.
Exactly. I said this to Grognard on TikTok the other day. We were having a conversation that I think a lot of people and players confuse level and capability all too often. They make those synonymous. Like, just because you're level 15 does not mean you're capable. A level 15 general from an army is not the same as a level 5 rogue from the streets going through town, right? Like, you two are specialized in something different, and their capability isn't just entwined with their level. They do have a history. They obviously have seen some shit, but a general has only gotten that level because of the war he's seen, the combat he's seen. Has he fought a dragon? Has he had to deal with a king? Has he had to go and, fight a troll? Has he had to go and, run diplomacy with the drow after killing a bunch of spiders? Like, no, he's probably only ever saw combat in armor against other armored combats. So sure, for 20 years, and again, people don't realize you have this like level 20 guard, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, he's 60 years old. And it's like, dude, you're 13 or 16 or 20 and you're level 8. You've done you're half the way to him in a fraction of the time. How long do you actually think it took him to get level 20?
Yeah.
His whole fucking life.
And it's interesting because it's like, so I had this struggle the other day with some of my players. It's like, okay, yes, I have these guys that are way more powerful than you, but I also don't want you to feel like you're useless in their presence. So it's like, in the scenario you're giving me, I think a level 5 rogue could pickpocket a level 10 or 15 fighter.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, it's not like that feat is impossible, but at the same time, recognizing that, hey, if they are this high of a level, there is a chance that they have skills and abilities that far outweigh what you have. Like, this one dude was trying to do some psionics on somebody's, but like recognizing because they're such a high level, they could have been through some things that gave them the reason to have some mental preparation, some mental blocking, some mental training. It doesn't guarantee, absolutely.
And that's why there should always be that air of you should try, because you don't know.
Yes.
But there's always this idea of, well, they're higher level, so obviously they're better. And it's like, better why?
And see,
they've just been around longer. They've done more things, but not necessarily more different things.
That's what hurts is I understand the feels bad moment for players when they try something and it doesn't work. But a lot of the time, specifically in a scenario like that, what are you trying it for? You're trying to gain information. But I think the fact that it fails is still you gaining information.
Yes.
And like, there's so much you can take away from that. And it is, but like, for me as a DM, I'm like, I try to think like, okay, how much do I want to spoon feed you? And because one of the things that I hate about current day media is they treat their viewers like they're stupid.
Oh yeah.
Like, and it really frustrates me because they sit there and they spell everything out. Even in an anime that I love, like Jujutsu, they're just sitting there like articulating absolutely every piece. But back in the day, they used to just infer stuff and you have to pick up on it.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Like, they just, it's like I want to encourage that type of critical thinking, of like investigating. And a lot of that comes to knowing your DM, right? Because like, the way that you are going to present things to us as players might be different than another DM presents it to me. So it's like, for you, when I'm in your games, I'm looking for different things than when I'm playing in somebody else's game. And so,
but it also requires you as the player to ask questions, engage with the DM to understand what is it, because we've been in games together where it's like, some people do clues differently, where they have an idea of what a clue means.
Sure.
But sometimes you don't, DMs don't do enough to make sure that everyone understood the meaning of their clue. Right? Like, you can give them this whole thing, but it's like, do you understand actually that I gave you like physically something that you should be considering physical versus a description versus writing? Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's easy to say like, you have these words, but it's different to understand like in what context do these words manifest for my character, right?
Yeah.
Knowing a poem is different than what is actually like I'm interacting with.
I mean, I will tell you, it took me a while for Dov to catch on to what exactly the significance of the prophecy in his journal actually was, right? Like, there was a lot of of nuance that he had to learn. Like, to him, it didn't have these connections, but you know, Queen Mab had to like come and present a lot of, hey, there's something to this, there's something I can't, there, you know, like, so there's
the whole concept of, is it for you, was it for your dad, were you two just the carrier? Like,
absolutely, you know,
is it, do you have any purpose of it, or is it just it was there for you to find right now for a purpose you don't understand?
And it's if you've heard the trope over and over again where the players will get so sucked in on a chair or a door or, you know, something stupid and mundane, and it's just a freaking chair, but oh my gosh, no, I gotta look at it. Oh, what kind of wood was this chair made out of? Like, let's knock on it, let's slide. Oh, I missed what? Oh, it's an invincible chair. You put all of this stuff into it, and you know, for me, there are times where I will do things where it's like, okay, can I find a way to give this purpose, right? In the sense that, like, you know, a lot of the times when you're looking through your NPCs, like, hey, what NPC would be here right now? Yeah. Or like, hey, what situation would be happening in the town right now? I'll do a very similar situation where it's like, hey, what value could this chair have right now? What could have gone on to make whatever investigation these guys are seeking after valuable? Because, you know, a lot of the times you put a lot of effort and energy into doing something, like you're hoping to get something out of it. You're hoping to find something. Like, if you're literally just there to waste my time, then, you know, whatever. But like, can I make the chair a mimic? I could, you know.
You know, it's interesting. It's like, it's almost like D&D puzzles have become more like escape rooms, where people have gone out of their way to make such intricate puzzles that they forget that sometimes, you know, it's like, yes, if a puzzle has a password, there's only one way in.
Sure.
But, you know, sometimes puzzles are about, like, again, the ingenuity of how people made something work. So therefore, instead of it having this hard, rigid solution, you kind of have to look outside the box going, well, what are ways it can be solved? And what are ways I'm willing to have it solved?
You know, it's funny.
There's so many DMs where there's like, no, but this was the answer. And it's like, man, you know how many answers? Like, I'm not saying that you have to just not have an answer and just let the first one that sounds good be the right one. But it's okay to be like, there's a couple different ways I want them okay for them to approach this because of the way I'm going to give it to them. I feel like that's more approachable, because there's so many times where I've seen DMs say, I made these puzzles, and they're like, look, it's so obvious. It's like, it's obvious to you. But the thing is, if you let it go on too long because you weren't willing to say that you made a bad puzzle, you were just saying, well, you haven't found the right answer.
I think that's, for me, a lot of the times I don't really make puzzles, I make scenarios. And what I mean by that is, it's like, hey, this is how this particular thing works, and I have an idea of how I would do something to it, but this is just how it works. If you found another creative way to circumvent how it works that I just didn't think of, like, I'm freaking I saw a video just the other day of these kids in an actual escape room. Like, you go pay money to go into an escape room, and they look at the door and they see there's like a power strip and something's plugged into the door, and they're just like, yo, if you get on my shoulders and we just unplug this thing, we can just get out. They did it. They unplugged the thing, the door opened, and they were able to get out of the escape room in like seconds. Like, it's so.
So was that the actual?
No, it wasn't. Like, that was like.
So that was out of game, like breaking the rules.
Absolutely, but, like, I mean, but they saw it existed there. Like, just imagine, like, you're in an actual place.
You know what's really fucked up though? You pay for an hour of an experience, and if you beat it in 30 seconds, you just wasted all of your money. But I mean, hey,
you know, I mean, if that's all you want it for, if it's for the meme, you know, like, live your life.
But we have a couple questions in chat, by the way. What's next week's item?
Next week's item is going to be however many backgrounds we can get through from Desmar. So we'll do one or two. I've got henchmen on there. That's what we have in the schedule.
All right, we'll try to knock out 2 there.
But yeah,
because those aren't too bad. And then let's see, what else do we have? Oh, Cosmic want to know, out of the 2 feats, which one is more unique for how most people would use them? Honestly, it's got to be language barrier, because false start, it's too straightforward. I think most people, whichever is the most, whatever they would consider, like, you know, usually the first combat of the day is nothing to like worry about, you know, because people talk about like, oh, when am I going to use something? Like, let's face it, you're never going to use it during the first combat. Like, it's very rare you're going to have like a easy combat before. Usually it's an escalation.
Unless
So,
you know, like, hey, we're fighting the boss first thing when we go in here or whatever the case may be.
So I'm gonna say that false start's gonna be obvious. It's gonna be on the most obvious fights. It's never gonna be on the first fight. It's always gonna be on the bigger fight of the day. It only can be used right out the gate. And I don't think that many people are gonna be worried about targeting allies. They're just literally gonna wait for who's in the lead and knock the highest initiative down. Like there really is in 5th edition gaming, there's not going to be a lot of strategic use for that. They're going to say, hey, this person's above 5, move them. That's it. It's just, they're just going to move everybody
down. But I will say the language barrier, it's just a passive. So you're theoretically not using it. It's just always there. It's just always beneficial. But
uniquely, I think there's more situations where that will come up that the DM may forget, or the player may be like, no, that's not happening.
If we're talking about value, I'm for sure going to say language barrier. Yeah. I think that the gravitas of, now granted, depending on your character, false start would be a better choice for some people than language barrier. I just think
in terms of unique, I think the question is like which comes out to be more the unique experience, the way that they'll be used.
Language barrier for sure.
Yeah, because it's gonna pop in the worst times for the DM, in the best times for the players. The other one, we just know when the player's gonna use it. You can guarantee, you can guess 9 times out of 10 when the player's going to use it. But this thing, you can always guess when it's going to be used whenever that thing happens. But it's always going to be in situations no one's thinking about it. Because again, it's passive. It's not going to be something where you're like, I'm waiting for you, DM. I'm waiting for you to, what language is that? What language is that? It's just going to be something's going to be like, fuck, wait, no, wait, no, I know that language. And then it's going to just be that, it's going to be that situation where it's going to have the most unique effect. Like long term. So yeah, absolutely. Definitely language barrier. All right. Well, that brings us to, where are we at? Over 2 hours. Not bad.
Absolutely.
Not bad. Well, welcome back. I don't know how often we'll have you in here, but at least welcome back for the time being.
Yeah, man. I'm loving it. You know, I do like getting to do remote. I'm able to do a lot more work wise over there, but I definitely
nice. It is nice to get into some games.
That's true.
What are we gonna do this Friday? I don't know. I don't have any plans for Friday. I don't know. We might do more gaming with chat. We might give that one another try.
Okay.
Or
I'm here for that.
If you have any other questions that you've been dying to ask, I know that was kind of fun to just do like a little bit of a high point history kind of thing.
I feel like I can always ask questions. Like I love poking the brain, seeing what's there, seeing what comes out. Even just this little history of magic items and how things function, like that.
Work, man. Yeah. Like that shit's that's. I love Magic, man. Like the way that I view Magic. That's really why I created High Point and just drifted into my own TTRPG setting, is just because, sure, all of it, like it's so hard to put into words whenever, in a greater community where people are just like, yeah, but why go through all this trouble and blah, blah, blah. And someone else wrote it. And I'm like, yeah, but this is my exploration. This is my version of science where I get to tinker with how I think things should work and how it would feel good in a game and feel good for character development. And sure, I can go play all of these other games and these settings and all of these other things and spend all that time, but I don't have as much fun reading someone else's words. Sure. I have more fun spending hours tinkering in my own head to then present something to my player and see their reaction and either build off of it or see that they love it and then get to watch them use it, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm an inventor, man. Like when it comes to this stuff, I'm an inventor.
Yep.
No matter what, that is why I will always rather... What I would say is like I would always rather homebrew a rule than go look it up. I do love looking up rules. There's a lot of great information out there, but I think I will always default to homebrewing it because it's part of the lore. It's not just about making a mechanic work to sound cool. And I think that's where a lot of people are like, but this, TTRPG does it fine. It's like, yeah, but that's not the point. It's about the lore. It's about where it came from, who developed it, why is it there? Like I created the stagger ability not because D&D, like, oh, why don't you just go play something that has stagger? It's like, that's not the point.
Yeah.
It's because in lore wise, when you're fighting someone and they don't know, and I just imagine you just pick up this giant ass, wooden chair, like in a dining hall in like medieval, England, like things like probably 40 pounds, and you bust that over someone's back and then they stumble forward. They're not immediately like, I'm back. They're going to take a second. So therefore, how does that translate? It means someone else is going to be able to come in and kick them.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you represent in combat? Stagger and initiative.
Dude.
And it's like, that's my point, is that's right there why I
imagine like 3 people had stagger and they're all
that's
stacked up on this one dude, and he just like never gets to go, or at least
that's my idea. It's like that narratively sounds better than going to play another game with another story and another set of rules, just so I can have the ability to push someone in their version of initiative with their version of. That's not what I want. I want my story and my character to be able to do that. And sometimes we just narrate that. But sometimes I want my character to be able to do that more than once. And that's where the homebrew comes in. When I want to say, I want this ability and it makes sense that I would be able to reproduce it, I don't want to have to just change my game because someone does it better. And I think that's where that argument happens a lot with me and other creators, is other creators all too often, they're looking at it from out of game point of view. Like, well, if you just want that mechanic, if you just want this, if you just want, it's like, you don't get it. It's not about the mechanic. It's not about playing that game. It's about making my story make more sense. It's about exploring my world and how this is all working. And I think it's I don't want to put this as like it's not like a I'm better ego thing. It's just, it's a difference between being a creative and being a creator and being someone who is a narrator and wants to run a game. It's totally fine to be a DM by the book. I'm not a by the book DM. I am a world builder. I have an entire universe living and thriving off of the reactions of my players. And sometimes what they want to do, it's more important to establish how that makes sense in my game versus just finding the best mechanic that does the best thing. It's not about that, right? It's about making it why it makes sense in my world and how it makes sense with the other rules that I have. And whether I publish it or not, again, that's my hobby. That is 100% the one thing that I just do for the fun of it.
Sure.
Is just create these rules. And I do find it interesting that there's so many people out there who take issue with that. And it's like, I don't understand why you have such a problem.
Again, I think, number one, what you're talking about is you are trying to craft the type of game that you want to play. And I think that too few people feel like they have the agency to craft a game that they want to play. So they feel like they are restricted to the games that other people have created. And I'm like, I just don't agree with that. But by extension, it's like, oh, well, if I can't create it, then you can't create it either. If I can't do it, then you have to live in the same box that I've put myself in, so that I can feel like me putting myself in this box isn't
or it's
pointless,
like making them feel better of, well, I'm a true TTRPG player because I buy the box, I buy the rule sets, I play the games that were made, and all you do is say you do, but then you just make everything up. So you're just playing make-believe and I'm playing
Let me ask you this. When Gary Gygax and his people sat down for the first time, what did they do?
Yeah.
Did they make some shit up?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what the fuck they did. They made some shit up. What makes their made up shit more valuable than my made up shit?
I had this great conversation today. I was actually getting hit up a lot today. I've been making some bangers recently.
Oh, that's what's up. There's what's up.
And I had a group of my fellow peers like talking, like I got stitched like 3 or 4 times today.
Yeah, I saw that. I was seeing these guys all
everybody was
popping like, yo, let's get it.
But I had this really cool conversation because one of them was talking about, just this idea of, the original creators and what they were creating. And he had this unique analogy of like certain games are like a sandbox or like a toolbox, right? They have no setting, they have no lore, they're just how to play it. Whereas other games have lore and setting and locations and things that you're supposed to play in, right?
Sure.
And he kept using this term toolbox. And I was like, I found that interesting because my response to him kind of used that same toolbox analogy where I said that, in my humble opinion, at their core, at their nature, all TTRPG systems are fundamentally toolboxes. Like the whole point is they are a set of tools to play a different mechanical game. The settings they come with are the garages they go to. In that sense, some tools come with a garage, some tools come on their own. But in the grand scheme of things, you always need the tools. You don't always need the garage.
True.
Like you can be in a garage and have all your tool sets that fit. Like if you're in a mechanics garage for cars, you expect to be surrounded by car tools.
Sure.
You don't expect to be surrounded by woodworking tools in a mechanic shop, right?
Sure.
That's what I mean. There's the toolbox, which is mechanics tools or woodworking tools, right? 2 separate toolboxes.
Sure.
You expect them to be in the right garage, a woodworking place or a mechanic place. But I can also go work on my car in my driveway. What do I need?
Sure.
The toolbox for my car. So if I want to play something archaic, I can play D&D. That's my toolbox for an archaic game. If I want to play a super futuristic game, I have the toolbox of Cyberpunk. I don't need to be in Cyberpunk's garage. I can be in D&D archaic world, but be playing with Cyberpunk kind of concepts and just say all the circuitry is gems.
Sure.
Like literally, again, so that's what I mean by I love this analogy of, yes, to me, every TTRPG system is its own toolbox. Some of them come with garages, but at the end of the day, you always need the toolbox. You don't always need to be inside the garage.
Here's the other thing. I can't tell you how many garages I've been in where there's a toolbox and they've got like an entire socket set. But they also got a toolbox with just a couple sockets in it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I can build my own toolbox.
Yes.
My own toolbox.
And how many garages have you been in that have a tool that's not meant for here, but they make it work?
And I can take tools from other toolbox to build my toolbox. I can be like, oh, I like that tool. I don't really need that one, but I like that one.
Oh,
they came in a set, but I don't really care about it. I don't give a shit about the set. Give me that tool right here. I'm gonna stuck it in my toolbox so I can use it whenever the fuck I feel like it.
How many tools are found in a mechanic's toolbox and a plumber's toolbox? Same tool.
That's what I'm saying. How many people need wrenches, man? You need a wrench for a car. You need a wrench for a pipe, man.
And there are tools that are made for one industry that have found use in others. And that's my point. So again, I like to look at High Point as my personal at-home garage.
Yes, absolutely.
The tools I have collected.
Absolutely.
And when I need to work on my project, every one of my tools is there, but it's my garage. It's my project. So when you come over, you're in my garage. Now, some people who own cars, like when you want to come in and help me work on my car, or when you want to work on your car with my stuff, you come to my garage, we work on it in my way.
Sure.
Some people want to take their car to the dealership. This would be like going to Watsy. They only want to go to that. Others want to go to a mechanic. So that's like Daggerheart. Like, not to say that they're not, but like there's like the ones from the distributors themselves, and then there's the people who make content. Like there's different types. Some people want to work at home. But at the same time, like there are some things that you would tell someone not to do at home without like enough training or whatnot. But yeah, at the same time, it's like there are some people who get around all their life doing all the work on their car. And there's some people who get around their whole life only going to a mechanic. But it's the perception of one says, well, you're wasting all your money because you could just do it yourself. The other one's saying, yeah, well, mine's reliable because mine's professional. And it's like, well, yes. Are there occasions where people are getting ripped off by going to a mechanic? Yes. Are there occasions where there are people who are doing things they don't understand, but they're doing them anyway? Yes.
Show me the results. But
at the end of the day, if you both are still driving 10,000 miles and everything's fine. And that's my point, is like,
I'm getting the results that I want. If people are showing up for my games, if people are having fun in my games, if people are enjoying the experience they're having, I don't give a crap if you paid $1,000 for your shit or not.
If you are a DM out there and you're doing the homebrew thing and every one of your players has complained, like you can't hold on to players. You talk to other DMs and they say, bro, you're way off. If you literally can't get a positive feedback and you're blaming everybody else, you're probably one of those people who are a mechanic who doesn't know what you're doing and your car keeps breaking down, right? No offense, but that may not be your jam. But those aren't the people that we're talking to, right? And the people who buy all the materials and run the games to the T and they have fun. Guess what? We're not talking to you. But it's the people who, like, I play the book by the rule 100%, but I get kicked out of every game table I go to, and I can't get people who want to game with me because they won't read every chapter that I tell them to. And it's like, or the people who are like, I've homebrewed everything, but everyone says that they just can't stand it. No one can play it. And it's like, these are the people that we talk to where it's like, look, you are the outliers. You're the ones that it doesn't work for. And that sucks for you. I'm sorry, but you also have to recognize that. But when we have the issues, it's like, we're not sitting here telling people who played by the book, well, you're wrong. You should make up your own stuff. I'm like, hey man, I'm glad that works out for you. I'm going to go do this. Usually though, it's what we see is the people who go to the mechanics and they're like, oh, you do your own car work? I would never. I go to a mechanic every single time. I only ever go to the mechanic. Like, I wouldn't touch my car. Like, you touching your car, it's probably going to break down and you wouldn't even know if like what if something broke down? Would you even know if you broke it or if it was something else? Like, how do you even know? Like, you should just go by the, like, they're professionals. Why wouldn't you just go to the professionals? They are guaranteed to make it work and your car's going to work just fine. Why would you not do that? And it's like, guy, that's fine. Like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to the mechanic. I want to know how to work on my own car. But you could just, you live down the street from a mechanic. What? There's 100 mechanics in town. And if you don't like that mechanic, why wouldn't you go to a different mechanic? Like, because that's how the argument feels. It feels like whenever we talk to people, like, yes, there are the outliers where it's like, bro, you probably just don't know what you're doing. But more often than not, it's like there's tons of people out here being like, oh yeah, I usually take it to a mechanic every 10,000 miles, but you know, I change my own oil. You know, I swapped out my own side mirror.
Sure.
Shit like that. You know, hey, I upgraded my seats because I wanted bucket seats. That's shit you can do on your own, and no one's gonna bat an eye, right? And that's my thing. Is there people who make a car from ground up? They buy a frame and just build it from scratch.
Sure.
I'm just saying, like, my hobby's my hobby. Now, I'm not telling everybody that they should do this. I'm not taking my shit out on the highway and putting everyone else at danger or telling them that, you know, your car sucks compared to mine. I'm just saying I have a hobby car and I love what it does. But it's so funny that in the D&D space, it's not like you could just be like, hey, I have a hobby car. What's your hobby car look like? No, it's I have a hobby car and everyone's like, I have a stock car from this dealership and it's perfect and only a professional has touched it. I don't understand why you took the roof off your car. And it's like, because I wanted it to. It's like, no, you should have bought a convertible. It's like, but I didn't want a convertible. I wanted to see what would happen if I did this.
This is genuinely.
Does anyone else get this analogy? Because this feels like it's on point right now.
This is genuinely a scenario that I feel is something that I struggle with just across the board, and it's other people feeling that it is their job to impress their way of life on you.
Yes.
Like, and I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's political. I don't care if it's religious. I don't care if it's gaming, right? Like, so often everybody else is trying to tell you how you're supposed to live your life. And I'm like, bro, I get to live my life my way.
Mm-hmm.
I get to choose what I want to do with my life. Now, if what I choose to do with my life has consequences, then guess what? I have to deal with those consequences, right? If I choose to go steal or rob or whatever, then guess what? I'm going to deal with the consequences of what that looks like. Yeah, you can be upset that I'm doing it, but like, you got to let me live my life.
Right?
Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do whatever it is. So
that's what I'm saying, man. Like, you know, going back to the garage thing, it's like, it doesn't matter, you know, if you have a set of tools that I do, unless your tools start to break and you're like, bro, I can't do shit with my tools. You were right. As long as your tools continue to work for the job that you're putting them on, it doesn't matter if I like my tools more. Doesn't matter if I'm DeWalt and you're in Milwaukee.
And even if I'm using broken,
gets done.
And even if I'm using broken tools, is it your job to make sure I'm using unbroken tools? Is it your job to come over here and police my existence? No. If you genuinely want to help me,
sure,
then provide the information and let me do with it what I please.
Yeah, but
right?
don't make it your problem. Don't assume that what you assume is a problem is your problem, right?
Yeah. Or like it's your job to fix my problem because it is my problem. Like, you're not in my game.
Maybe I know my tools are broken and maybe I'm just like, bro, I just ain't ready to fucking fix them yet.
Yeah.
I'm not ready.
I've gotten used to rocking with ghetto tools. Like, leave me alone. So what?
Or maybe it just ain't that deep for me. Like, you know how many tools I have that are like, I should replace this, but I'm like, but it works for right now.
Absolutely.
Like, it's like, I know it's broken, but you know what? Until it can't function, I'm gonna let it be.
Sure.
And you know what? That's fine too.
It really is.
It's called
it really
coping,
the fuck
okay?
is. God bless America, man.
It's called coping. All right, y'all. Well, I think we are gonna end it there. We will be back on Friday with something. We'll be doing something. But yeah, thanks Cosmic for the review. Both reviews, I did like those. And we have some more stuff coming from Hecate coming down the line. So
yes, I actually looking at what is it called? The chain. I almost called it a chain smoker. It's not a chain smoker. What is it? Chain weaver.
Chain weaver. They also have some homebrew spells and a new system that they might submit. So
oh, what system?
I don't know. Maybe a magic system. I don't know.
Okay,
we'll find out.
Okay,
get it to us. All right, and if y'all have something, if you guys are new here, you guys can join the Discord, submit your own stuff. But yeah, we'll be back on Friday. Otherwise, I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. I hope you guys have a great week ahead of you.
Amen.
We'll be back later this week, and yeah, have a good rest of your night. Cheers.
Deuces, my friends.